All right, fellows. As I've said before, we're keeping an eye on PAX Day for the next kind of MMO experience, MMO kind of survival-esque type game. From what I understand, PAX Day is going to be more medieval. PAX Day is going to be having player-built cities, open world PvP, open world dungeons that connect you with other people. This is what we've heard recently, this last month. And we're kind of watching a couple of these YouTube videos with this guy because he seems to be one of the main people covering it. I don't necessarily cover the video games, and I don't have Twitter or anything like that, and I haven't got put into the alpha yet, so I can't really fully go over it. But this video will kind of look over the combat mechanics that he's showing off here. Um, let's go to YouTube and show his channel and everything else. So, Altari, 650 subscribers. He's one of the only people covering the game at the moment, so I would probably follow him and make sure that everyone gives him some support if you want to kind of see this game. Now, from what I understand, New World or not New World, PAX Day, the graphics and stuff that we've seen so far look really good. Pretty sure Unreal Engine 5. Um, Items and stuff in the game are going to have kind of puzzles and clues on them to find hidden treasures and items and things like that. But the majority of the items are supposed to be crafted, similar to the kind of idea concepts that I want to put in my own game if I make a game. So that's part of the reason I want to test this game out and give it more of a shot. But the other thing is I kind of like the ideas that they are putting into it. The one issue here is that depending on how the combat mechanics work, I'm not 100% sure. And they also said that they're going to do the Holy Trinity, so tank, DPS, and healer. So that an open world kind of thing, it might be kind of hard to run around if your character can't really cover up all of its bases on its own. But the player built worlds we've seen in a couple of different games, and they kind of flop if there isn't enough players to actually build out the world, or depending on how the land layouts are. But they're also saying that there's PvP areas on the map now. So instead of it just being the dungeons or PvP, basically you can have safe home zones that you can build, and then there's going to be other areas on the map that give certain sorts of materials that can be claimed by PvP combat, but not necessarily the best stuff. But I just want to go over the combat mechanics that he's looking at here. This is the first time I'm watching it. Also, this is a fellow ginger man, so I got to support the gingers, man. We're family. And let me swap this over to the headset real quick.
108 of you professional PAX Day consumers out there. My name is Altari, the professional gamer, and we are going to be going over combat and RPG systems in PAX Day today. Yes, we got a lot of information with regards to gameplay mechanics related to combat as well as RPG systems. We're going to be talking about PvP, death mechanics. We're going to talk about crafting, different items, and how they relate to magic, skills, and passive and active abilities. There is a lot to go through, so we're just going to go ahead and get right on to it. But before we get there, we met a huge channel milestone last week, and we are at over 500 consumers of PAX Day related content. So I just wanted to say thank you to all of you for subscribing. If you haven't done so already, that subscribe button is right down at the bottom of your screen. Go ahead and hit that if this is the kind of content that you like. Hit the like button as well while you're down there, and share this video with any of your friends who might be interested in PAX Day. Let's go ahead and get to this new combat and RPG mechanics information.
All right, so as you can see, I would like and subscribe his stuff. He's one of the few people that have content on this. As we've seen with these pictures and videos, though, I mean the graphics and stuff look really good so far. We need in-game footage to kind of clarify what exactly it is. But as far as I've seen of in-game footage, it looks pretty good. The grass looks good. The backgrounds look good. Um, all the bridges and stuff. Destructible environments, I'm assuming there's probably some if they're going to have these open world things going on, but we'll have to see. I'm kind of curious what else he's going to have in here, but especially the magic, because as far as I know, the magic is kind of rare in the game.
All right, so first things first, a couple of just base information with relation to combat as well as RPG systems. The developers have, for the most part, been focusing on the other key critical aspects of their game, including laying the foundations for the economy with resource gathering, as well as how player housing is going to work, specifically with regards to building and construction,
I hope the
as well as the
crafting
plot
isn't
systems, and I
super
would
hard.
imagine also the permission systems that are going to be tied into all of that. But over the last couple of months, Mainframe has been working on fleshing out their combat system, which is why we haven't heard about it very much recently. Now, with regards to their combat system, it's still very much so a work in progress. The way that the developer update sounded when I read it makes it seem like combat isn't going to be a completed 1.0 version product by the time we get into an alpha later this year, but it does sound like something that they are setting the ground layer down for, and they're going to continue to build that up until they get to their desired outcome. It's good to hear that they have a vision for where they want combat to go and how they want their systems to work. And while it is maybe a little unfortunate that, from what it sounds like, combat isn't going to be in a more refined state by the time some of us are going to get our hands on it, it is definitely nice to hear that they have a plan. So, all of that being said, they are going to have the major pillars foundation of MMORPGs. That's going to be your holy trinity. So you can expect to see tanks, you can expect to see DPS, and you can expect to see healers. But they're making a system where you can craft your own role. So PAX Day is a classless game. You're not going to be picking a class and leveling your class up with its associated skills. You're not going to be locked into a specific area of focus. Instead, as we learned today, all of your skills are going to be things that are stationary with your player, but all of the magic and any of the abilities that your character might have, including weapon techniques, spells, buffs and debuffs, or active and passive effects, those are all actually going to be connected to items that you as a player are going to either craft or find around the world.
See, this is the same sort of system that I wanted to implement into a game as well, but they're doing more of the MMO type system, and I want to do more of the survival type system. But the classes and stuff, without having those, is kind of interesting. But you notice he's talking about fighting styles and like magic and potions and stuff and items. So we know there's probably going to be item durability. I know there's probably going to be a lot of crafting in this game, and that's probably going to be the one thing that I'm iffy on, but I'm going to let slide because I hate crafting. But since it's going to be a player kind of focused economy and stuff like that, I know people like crafting, and I can craft if it's not super tedious, I could do it. So, or if there's an actual, reason for it. Like crafting in the survival games, I've did that forever, but like crafting in an MMO with that specific style is kind of annoying.
You will be able to hold multiple sets of gear inside your inventory, and you will be able to actively switch between these builds based on what gear you have equipped. This is a really beneficial thing for players because it allows for us to be able to adapt to whatever situation has actively presented itself to us.
So it seems like they kind of have like the Guild Wars 2 armor system going on, maybe, but also having multiple sets of gear in an open world air like game that has PvP, I could see that being kind of an issue because if people can loot everything that's on your body and there isn't any limits to it, then there's not really any need to bring 4 or 5 sets of gear. You're going to want sort of a like a low tier generalist kind of setup. But in a survival game, there's always a chance for someone with a low tier set of gear to beat someone with a high set of gear. But in an MMO kind of game, high set of gear usually kind of wins. So it'd be interesting to see how they balance this. I could see a potential issue showing up right here.
On the flip side of that, the more gear that you take, the more potential you have to actually lose your
Hmm.
gear. And that's where we'll actually talk about some of the death mechanics in PAX Day. When a player dies, they are going to leave a tombstone, essentially, with all of their character's gear located inside of it. Now, depending on how they died, it did seem like there might be a potential for people to be able to take all of or some of their gear. And in addition, at least some items are going to have durability, which is very similar to other MMORPGs, where your item is going to, as
The tombstone thing is kind of interesting. And see, how I was planning on trying to balance this out in a game was going to be like the items that you had equipped on your character per se would be kind of like soulbound to your character and they wouldn't get removed. But the items in your inventory that you collected or brought with you, like potions or crafting materials, etc., would be lootable. But it's kind of interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how this works because unless you die from a mob or something, if people can steal your actual gear, it might not be worthwhile to go back to your body.
it's being used or as you die, it's going to decrease in durability, eventually expiring. As a result of a durability system, that gives us the opportunity to have more balance when it comes to items and item variability. You can have a really, really powerful weapon that might be a little bit easier to craft, but as a result, its durability is going to be significantly lower than a really powerful weapon that's more difficult to craft. I think this is a really cool opportunity for Mainframe to really push the limits as to what full loot or partial loot PvP can be as well, but we'll get to that in a later section, so make sure you stay tuned. Now, going back to how you can craft your own role, they did mention a couple of particular items slash abilities that I wanted to talk about right now. The first one was when they were describing a tank build. There's this full plate armor, of which one of the pieces is called Thunderous Visage, and it is basically a skill or a spell that allows the player to trigger an enemy and increase their aggro, which is one thing that they also confirmed in today's update. And in addition to that, this player also had something called a Soothing Choker equipped, which is a medallion that allows them to cast a spell called Lull. This ability is great to avoid aggroing a full room in one pull, which would obviously be a great skill slash spell for a player who is a tank to have. They then proceeded to talk about how you can have.
See, this is something I'm split on because one of the reasons I don't necessarily like the classic tank DPS healer trinity thing that they have in MMOs is because I don't like playing pure tank and I don't like playing pure DPS and I like having a hybrid and I think you could probably pull this off. But like when you're sitting there telling me that like you can wear full plate armor and you can have like four abilities that have to do with taunting enemies, I don't see any real benefit in that. Like taunting an enemy is fine, but there's nothing exciting about it. There's nothing super useful about it besides keeping them off of your allies. I would prefer to have a tank character that doesn't have taunt and has like things that boost my defense and boost my damage, which is more my style. Because I like having really tanky characters that have just enough damage to kill things. And I don't want to have to rely on a healer to take care of me.
Have more hybridized combos where the player might be able to equip a pair of leather pants, which they're trading off their ability to have more armor, I would imagine, or being able to heal instead. Or they could also equip a hypnotic band, which is a ring that grants them the mesmerizing spell. The mesmerizing spell, all that we could see in the image, and you can see that over here somewhere, is that it's a jewelry ring. It mesmerizes foes with a dizzying display of illusions, rendering them unable.
See, so it looks like they're having all these magic abilities tied to items, which is exactly the kind of thing I wanted to put into a game if I built one. But I'm curious how this is going to work out, like how many rings you can have, etc. Because like if you have like 5 rings on a hand and you're like a sorcerer, that's a bunch of spells and abilities that you could have. And then like things like this art right here, there's like lightning going down into this arrow point. So like, is it a magic arrow or is it an ability that charges your next attack to do magic damage?
To act. So essentially, it is a ring that is going to stun them proc a stun onto an enemy or a group of enemies. It's not very specific, but these types of gear are the ones that we're going to be able to work with and make builds out of. Now, there were a couple of screenshots that were very, very interesting, and we're actually going to save that for the PAX Friday review coming up in a couple of days. So be sure to be on the lookout for that, and we'll be going through all of the new screenshots and trying to pick out some of the more interesting ones there. Continuing on, they also wanted to talk about a couple of trade-offs. So as many of you know, PAX Day doesn't really have a leveling system. You don't start off at level 1 and progress to whatever max level is, and then you're done.
I like
In
that.
fact, PAX Day has no levels, and you start off basically in the end game. Now,
And I think that's how games should kind of be. There shouldn't be just wasted player area just to level up to max level. You mean you can have skill-based kind of areas where it's a max level thing. If you have, skill, it's not as difficult, and then it goes up to like really difficult mobs. But I don't like having to force level characters and stuff. In this, it's going to be more like a survival game where it's crafting. So the main thing is like I'm very, very interested in the type of game mechanics that they put in and how the system's going to work, because a lot of this is very, very similar to what I would want to put into a game. Um, but I think I would probably have a couple of alterations.
Now, where the balance is actually coming in is that while you might be given a very powerful weapon like this sword called the Sacred Sword of Phaonios, you might not actually have enough of the knowledge required to fully benefit from that particular item. Now, for many of you who have long been watching this channel, the Sacred Sword of Phaonios is just begging to be a flame sword, and it's definitely on my radar for trying to find one when the game comes out. But they specifically mentioned a couple of different skills, and those are specifically Magic of Light as well as Magic of Life. Now, these two particular different fields of magic, I guess we can say, are tied to.
Here's something I'm gonna say right here. This I don't know if this is an NPC city or something, but this seems like a bad place to build a city at. Like I get that there's water here, it's defensible, but like anyone could take these mountain ridges and shoot down in there. Like if you're building a player city and you build in a cove like this, it might be good to keep it hidden, but it's gonna suck, if there's any sort of PvP that can happen coming off of it, because like you don't want to be in town and just get shot by a bunch of arrows.
Different things. One is for the Sacred Sword of Phaonios. It will allow players to gain a benefit or a bonus against fighting demons, whereas the Magic of Life is going to
Demons.
actually give players the ability to cast divine heal spells, which will give you more efficient use of your particular healing abilities. These skills are things that you earn or gain experience in as you're using these abilities. So you can't just enter the game, be given the Ring of Power, and instantly turn into Sauron and go around smashing all of the kingdoms and eliminate the race of man. You won't be able to do that. You'll still have to go and level all of these things up, and then as you progress, you'll start unlocking more potential in your weapon. Now, where this actually makes a very exciting case for a MMO is that you could find the Sacred Sword of Phaonios, and it very well doesn't have to actually tell you what benefits are attached to this sword. And what that means is you could just be using this sword and then magically you realize, oh, now my sword's on fire. Or, oh, it's able to do a lot more damage to demons than it was a couple of levels ago. And that makes for a lot more mystery with these weapons. And it also helps some balance as well, where you're not going to have guilds or clans that are able to just instantly fast level all of their new members by giving them the best gear in the game. They're still going to have the benefit of having a really good sword or having a really good crafted piece of armor, but they're not going to get all of the special benefits like the magic or the skills or the passive abilities that are coming with those items until they level them up efficiently.
My question here is going to be how many of these items can you actually get? Like he's talking about guilds giving their players a bunch of really powerful items, but how many items are actually going to spawn in the world, like on a timer or anything that, like you can get over and over again like that? Because I think most of what they want is crafted items. So these rare magical items, I guess they'd probably be on a timer, but I would very, very be um, wary about big guilds being able to like farm these very powerful items and no one being able to get access to them, because that's something I think could be a problem in this game, that we have to look out for.
Speaking really quickly into skills and abilities and them being attached to armor, I think that this system is very unique, and it also opens a lot of potential for the importance of crafters. And what I mean by this is advanced crafting options in PAX Day are going to be the best producers of the best weapons that you can find. So, someone who is able to craft at a very high tier, there is a potential that they'll actually be able to enhance items to add specific abilities or spells, weapon techniques, or buffs, debuffs, passives, or actives. So it allows for players to kind of select the type of armor and look that they're going for, and you don't exactly have to just go to a dungeon and loot this sacred sword of Phaonios and then you're good and ready to go. You can actually just have a sword, bring it to a really experienced blacksmith or someone who can enchant weapons, and then they can add, depending on their skill and their availability of resources, they can add effects onto that sword or onto that piece of armor, which gives you access to the build that you're looking for. And the way that players find out how to craft all of these enhancements, well, you have to go out into the world and explore and find out the secrets within the world to unlock how to actually be able to craft these items.
This is also something that I was kind of planning in a game, but mine was going to be more magic focused, where you can infuse magic into your weapons, but you explore to find the magics. But this is a little different.
So we can see how all of these systems are tying together. You have the knowledge system that's tying into the combat system, that's tying into how you build your character, and it's a very exciting thing to say the least. Lastly, we will just talk very briefly about PvP. I know everyone is very, very keen on figuring out how PvP is going to work, and they definitely want to tell us over at Mainframe, but they are still currently refining all of what that looks like. From what we could get from today's update, we know that PvP zones are going to be called contested provinces, and they will contain unique resources within them. And they made a specific distinction here about these resources. They are unique resources, but they are not necessarily the best resources. So you'll be able to get different kinds of resources from these contested zones, but not necessarily the best resources from these contested zones. Now, while you're inside of these contested zones, you will be able to kill other players, and there will be the possibility to potentially loot either fully or partially their gear. They're going to definitely have an entire FAQ section about this at some point in time when they're closer to iterating on this. But for the time being, that's all that they were really able to give us. Now, it's important for everyone to understand that your homes and anything that's located in.
See, something to notice right there is this little hack and slash stuff right here. Like they have this guy running up on this hill. Their archery, I don't know if there's like a limit to how far you can shoot, but it doesn't seem like your arrows are going to shoot very far, or with a lot of velocity, which makes me kind of skeptical about the archery and like PvP. But when it comes to this,
Important for
you
everyone to
see it's
understand
just like standard sort of. It looks like they're using a short sword or a dagger. There's some sort of like just hack and slash stuff here, whatever they're fighting.
that your homes and anything that's located inside of a home valley, which is the PvE only zone, is PvE only. It is 100% protected. Players are not going to be able to destroy it. One distinction that Mainframe made as well is that PvP is going to be 100% consensual. You do not have to participate in it in order to get access to any type of content, but there will be obvious benefits to participating in it, though not required benefits in order to be the best of the best. They also did mention that they intend to add a system that allows dueling to occur while in PvE zones. It'll be really cool to hold tournaments there for everyone on the server to participate in and potentially get rewards from, and I look forward to that as well. The combat system and the RPG systems in PAX Day are actively being iterated on. I feel like we've only really scratched the surface when it comes to learning about how combat is going to work and how the RPG systems are going to work. We know that we're probably around 2 to 3 months at this point away from getting into the alpha. Mainframe hasn't been clear on whether or not there's going to be an NDA for players who do get access, but you can bet your bottom dollar that if we are able to be talking about PAX Day and we get into the alpha in the next couple of months, that we're going to be sharing all of the new information that we can gather on PAX Day for all of you to follow along with us in this amazing journey that is PAX Day. That's all that we have for today's video. I know that was a lot of content to talk about, and I just wanted to get a video out there to summarize it for all of you so that you didn't have to read through everything that was posted today. So if you haven't done so already and you like this type of content, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel so that you get notified whenever we post new content, and as always, share this video with any of your friends.
Welcome to this updated PAX Day Everything Known video. With the upcoming alpha test being very soon, I wanted to update this again. I do have a wiki that I have created which is linked in the description, and if you go to the PAX Day overview page on the wiki, it follows this video pretty closely. I did omit a few small details to try to shorten this video length a bit, so if you want absolutely everything, be sure to follow that page as you watch this video. PAX Day is a new low fantasy sandbox MMO with a big emphasis on player-built housing, emergent gameplay, and the open world. Players build all cities in PAX Day, and the best gear will be crafted by players. The lore and world of PAX Day is inspired by the legends of the medieval era. PAX Day is being developed by Mainframe Industries, a new independent venture-backed developer founded in the spring of 2019. They are a pan-European developer with offices in Finland, Iceland, and France. They are very well funded with over 31 million in venture capital raised so far. Mainframe is opting for a smaller team size than normal for this MMO, but they are utilizing an incredibly experienced workforce to do so, and they seem to be committed to keeping the scope of this project in check. The current team size is somewhere around 75. PAX Day is being developed on Unreal Engine 5.2 currently. PAX Day is being built with future expansion in mind, with most systems being very modular instead of rigid to allow for the natural expansion of game systems over time. PAX Day is being developed on the following design pillars: verisimilitude, or in other words, realism. The developers want the world to feel very real. The world is more of a low fantasy world that is grounded and realistic. Emergent gameplay is another design pillar. Just like all other sandboxes, this game is meant to foster interactions between players. Another design pillar is a fully open world without instances. You can travel across the entire world without going into an instance. PAX Day has been inspired by the following games the most: EVE Online, with its emergent patterns of social and political groups and structures; Valheim, with its building systems; EverQuest, with its dungeon gameplay; and Ultima Online, with some social aspects and PvP elements. And also do note, many of the founders of this company did come from EVE Online, so there is a lot of EVE Online influence in this game, and in some respects it is almost like a fantasy version of EVE Online. As for monetization, there's little known, but the developers have said no pay to win or time skips. Paid accounts were mentioned in the building FAQ, which suggests potentially this might be a free-to-play game with various paid options. The PAX Day name means the Divine Peace and is officially pronounced as PAX Dei, and I never pronounce it that way because I never remember to. Combat scene in the announcement trailer is placeholder and being reworked. Combat style is third-person action with WASD movement, but more strategic than reactive, so the decisions made before combat are at least as important as the decisions made during combat. Gear will matter and have an effect on combat. Stamina is the main resource of PAX Day combat. Most actions and abilities will use stamina. It is unknown what happens when stamina runs out. There is a consumable bar seen above the stamina meter in the gameplay trailers, but it is unknown what it is used for. Gear can be switched out during combat, but there will be some restrictions. Weapons can be placed on your hotbar, which in the current version has 8 slots, and you can swap between them during combat. It will not be an instant swap. Weapons do have a directional attack, so they must be aimed in the correct direction. Melee weapons have a swing radius that is directional. Ranged weapon projectiles will need to be aimed. Projectile physics with fall off do exist. There is the ability to charge your shots to give them more power. Healing will have different types of targeting besides just AoE. The developers do have some plans to address the typical performance issues that arise with projectile physics in a massively multiplayer setting. The predominant method seems to not be ultra precise with projectile collision detection to reduce server load. All body types will be identical in terms of gameplay. For example, hitboxes and character reach will be the same no matter what body type is chosen. Player collision is planned to be on in PvP areas, but not in PvE areas except when players are wielding a weapon. Poison, bleeding, and resistances are all confirmed, as well as other negative status effects. Consumables are an important part of combat. PvE in PAX Day is very freeform and open. There will be large, open, and deadly dungeons and raid targets. There will not be traditional survival game mechanics like hunger and thirst, however, food and drink will provide useful buffs and other benefits. There will not be traditional MMO cities with NPCs, NPC quest givers, or NPC vendors in the world, but you will find a wide variety of creatures and AI enemies in PvE. No quest givers does not.
There's a lot here that's very similar to the game concepts that I had in my head. I'm kind of interested about these AI things though, because if the AI, depending on how advanced it is, that could be an issue. The other thing is like the melee combat's directional. We don't see any super flashy skills so far, so I don't know how good the PvP combat's going to be. That's probably going to be the hardest thing for me to adjust, because if the PvP combat isn't like super good, it might be a little hard to justify, but all the other things that they're putting into the game is interesting enough for me to actually try it.
Mean there is not quest-like content. The developers might eventually add some NPCs to the world, but that might be after launch. The developers want to allow emergent gameplay so players can create their own quests, in essence. The main way the game will deliver quests is via notes and via researching discarded artifacts. New players will be able to immediately make a meaningful contribution to the world, no matter the gameplay area they are in, and be able to quickly equip good quality gear. The developers still want to ensure a solid new player experience despite the lack of NPCs and quests. One way a new player can help existing players is the plot system. There are a limited number of available building plots, so a new player can be very valuable to existing players by adding their new plot to the existing player's building plots, increasing the overall build area. There will be normal.
That's something that could be an issue too, because when you have building like that in a game and there's only a certain amount of plots you can build, players like having their own areas, and it can be difficult getting them to build in one zone.
Fauna in PAX Day, as well as mythical creatures. We have seen a few teases of mythical creatures in the gameplay trailers. Animals are said to be an integral part of gameplay. Dungeons in PAX Day are massive, open world, and not instanced. The dungeon design is inspired in part by EverQuest. The dungeons will require many trips to fully learn them. Dungeons and quests reward unique items, but just like player-created items, they are freely tradable. There will be open world bosses and raid targets as well. As for PvP, there is not much known yet, but we do know the Heartlands areas where players start out and where players build settlements will be PvE only zones. Outside of the Heartlands, players will have various options to choose if and how they want to experience PvP and how much they're willing to risk in doing so, as there is value loss in PvP. The developers want PvP to feel dynamic and not just about a static PvP toggle or zone restrictions. Opt-in does not necessarily mean set your flag in some UI for your character. PvP is not forced in PAX Day. Contested provinces are the PvP zones, but nothing is really known about them yet. The developers have stated that PvP might be more about player politics. They have said that all players will benefit from the results of PvP conflict. Instance PvP is not likely, as the developers are going for a full open world experience without instancing. Rankings and leaderboard systems are not likely. There might be multiple different types of PvP scenarios. Different types of PvP might have different server phasing limits, which we will elaborate more on later when we talk about servers. Building outside of the Heartlands and PvP areas is something that is planned to be added after launch. Nothing official has been stated about large-scale PvP, but they have mentioned wanting to have something like that eventually. Magic does exist in PAX Day.
This is where it says large-scale PvP, but if it's open world with PvP zones that are open world, that's where I think big guilds are going to become an issue, because then you're going to have like 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 players, however much the map can hold, camping like a dungeon or something, just waiting for things to respawn.
And in more ways than in just combat. However, this is a low fantasy sandbox MMO, and Magic will not be something that players have immediate access to. It will be something that players will need to acquire. Some Magic will use reagents, there will be different schools of Magic, players cannot create their own spells. Magic, like all skills in the game, will get stronger the more you use it, but not every skill will be ideal for every encounter. You can find spells, and you may be able to find a magic spell that no one has seen before. Will the game have diseases? Yes, but it will follow the tradition of the time period where a lot of people viewed disease as a form of magic. As for the player characters in PAX Day, all players will play as humans in PAX Day. There is said to be a high level of character customization, and details of that will be upcoming in the October 2023 Character Customization FAQ, which will release after this video is complete. There are no classes in PAX Day that you can select when you create your character. Instead, your chosen gear, weapons, and leveled skills will be what forms your class. You are not bound to one class. You can level up other skills and change your gear to change your class. The Holy Trinity does exist in PAX Day. Gear will be the main source of abilities and spells. How much you have leveled each skill will determine how much you can utilize them. PAX Day does not have player levels. Instead, you level up your skills and you upgrade your gear. Skill leveling is said to be fairly fast without the need for grinding. Progression in PAX Day is based on progressing your skills on your character and equipping different weapons and armor. You are not locked into any progression path. You progress your skills simply by using them. Players can very early participate in what would traditionally be the end game, as anyone can equip any gear and quickly get up to speed. Moving on to the world of PAX Day, the world is being built with a semi-procedural approach where the human makes the interesting and important decisions and the computer fills out the rest. Roads in PAX Day will be pre-existing and not built by the players. The world is said to be grounded and realistic and is confirmed to be a low fantasy setting. PAX Day is a fully seamless open world. You can travel from one end to the other without any instancing. The actual world size is not known, but we know that each server will have 20,000 players and multiple provinces each, and each of these provinces is 100 square kilometers, but with a smaller playable area. The current Alpha Heartlands province is 100 square kilometers with 70 square kilometers of playable area. The developers will not have the entire world in at the release of Alpha, with only one of the 4 regions being in at Alpha release, Gallia. The aim is for 2 or 3 Heartlands provinces, plus some dungeons and another unknown province type for the Alpha. Overall, this would give a playable area of 150 square kilometers for the alpha. For the launch, it is likely to be much bigger. There will be multiple ways to traverse the world, including mounts at a later date. Fast travel might be possible, but will be limited when carrying materials for crafting. As for building outside the Heartlands, some temporary structures such as campfires, campsites, outposts, and tents might be possible, but full structures will not be. The world is divided into 4 Old Kingdom regions, 4 in-between regions, the Outer Rim world, and Axis Mundi, which is the center of the world. Regions are divided into provinces. Kingdom regions contain Heartland provinces and are closer to Axis Mundi, and in-between regions are smaller and wilder and further away from Axis Mundi and closer to the Rim worlds. The 4 Old Kingdom regions are Gallia, Gothia, Anatolia, and Iberia. The in-between regions are Thule, Carpathia, Helios, and Atlantis. Within each region are several provinces. Each province is 100 square kilometers with a smaller playable area. The playable area of the first province in Alpha, Ancien, is 75 to 80 square kilometers. The known province types so far are Heartlands provinces and contested provinces. The Old Kingdom region of Gallia, and the first that is playable, will eventually contain the following provinces: Caries, Mary, Ancien, and Lioness. Mary and Ancien are the first 2 provinces available in the upcoming public alpha. Within the Heartlands provinces are areas known as home valleys. The average size of each home valley is roughly 10.7 to 11.4 square kilometers. These home valleys are where players are free to build housing and settlements. The first province, Ancien, contains the 6 home valleys shown on screen. In between the home valleys are areas called the Wildlands, and these will be much more dangerous areas. Biomes are also in the game. Each province will contain multiple biomes. The known biomes are shown on the screen. There are bodies of water and associated gameplay, but at the launch of the game, ships will not be likely, but they might be later added in a future patch. Books will play a big role in the game, but we don't know any details yet on that, and they will not be in the alpha. Seasons might eventually be added to the game, but not anytime soon. There are day-night cycles, and it does affect gameplay. Full moons might have gameplay effects. There are a lot of weather effects, but whether or not this affects gameplay is not yet known. Moving on to gearing in PAX Day, the inventory slots seen so far are shown on the screen. Gear and item tiers have been seen. The difference between tiers of gear is not necessarily a linear progression. Sometimes tier increases just give more options instead of increased power. Players can equip any gear, but they might not have the skills leveled to be effective with that gear. Some gear will limit the effectiveness of magic use. All items and resources in PAX Day are freely tradable. There will not be best in slot gear, as each encounter might have different requirements for gear, so the best gear will depend on the encounter. The best gear will be crafted by players. Mob drops are not the best source of gear. Mobs might be more for resource drops for crafters than for gear drops. Gear definitely has wear and tear, and you can actually see the damage on the gear models in game. Players will repair the items. There will be a point that players will want to retire a weapon or a piece of gear, but the exact mechanism for this is not yet known. Supply and demand could affect gear pricing based on what gear or encounters are popular at the moment. The new player gear grind will not be insurmountable. New players can get decent gear quickly. Gear never becomes obsolete and can be traded and recycled or kept for the right opportunity. Customization and dyes will be in the game. Currently, most wearables adapt to the body to a certain extent. Gear and resistances seen so far are shown on the screen. Main and offhand weapons will be available. There will be more than 8 weapons at the launch of the game, but outside of that, we do not know how many we will see. Weapons seen so far are shown on the screen. There will not be guns, as it does not fit in the era of the game. Inventory is slot based according to the announcement video, UI shots, and the developer comments. There will not be item Tetris. Each item fills 1 slot. The developers want the logistics of weight to matter more for crafting, building, and trade than they do for personal gear and items. From the gameplay trailers, the current game has a 24 slot inventory. The inventory does show how full it is in the UI. Inventory is slot based, but it is unknown if there is also a weight component to inventory, as some of the developer comments do talk about inventory weight in a general manner. Players have to build their own storage. There are no banks. Moving on to the building systems in PAX Day, current buildings seen in the building FAQ videos is work in progress footage. Every building you see in the announcement trailer is player made. Plots are a portion of land that belongs to a character and that you can claim in the areas open for building. This portion of land is circular and vast enough to build a house of reasonable size and a couple of smaller structures. When you're placing a plot, you'll be able to freely pick the plot location in the Heartlands, and you will see a preview of exactly what the area you're getting is like. Players will need to build a building hammer. Then they can use that to claim a plot. Plots can be joined to create a larger plot that fills in the once circular build. This encourages players to work together. This image from Discord user Redemption is a rough representation of what that might look like. Plot expansion is not exponential when joining them, it is linear. Once plots are joined, players can set the permissions to allow players to build on their own plot if desired. Players are not forced to join plots, but it is beneficial to do so. You do not have to be in a clan to join plots. Access to inventory chests and many items and building permissions on your plot can be controlled with a permission system, but you cannot restrict other players being on your property with this system. Currently, doors are not in the game, but they are being added. It is unknown if door permissions will be a thing, but it has been said the permission system will be extensive. The developers are aware that players leaving your clan could cause problems with shared plots, and they are working on solutions for this. You can move your plot, but currently you have to manually move all the things to the new plot location. The developers are working on ways to streamline this. There are no mechanisms in the game to prevent someone from claiming a plot near your clan to block expansion of your clan building, but that is not a situation that benefits the person that does it. Paid accounts get one plot, more can be acquired, but the mechanism for that is not yet known. Abandoned plots can have items.
I mean, it could benefit the person who does it if you can't get back into your plot and get your gear or anything, you know? Like if you build a castle on the side of a hill and then they come and block in your base on that hill, then they can just slowly just take your base over.
Items taken from them if they are left behind. The developers are working on the timeline of how quickly a plot becomes abandoned when a player becomes inactive and how quickly they can rebuild when they come back to the game. Most buildings in the game will be built by players. Players cannot claim pre-existing buildings. All towns in the game will be player run. As for
Here's the other thing is that if these people can claim these areas right next to each other, then they could potentially block off whole zones of the game and people aren't going to be able to get through that area without destroying these structures. So say that if there's like a common starting zone, people could just surround the starting zone with buildings and trap all the new players from entering.
For restrictions on where building can be done, as said before, building can only be done on plots and in the home valleys within Heartlands provinces. Players cannot build in front of dungeon or other specific POIs or on the roads. Players cannot build underground. There will be some pre-existing structures that do go underground. Players cannot terraform the land, but when building foundations, it will level the land. Buildings can be pretty substantial in size if combining plots with your clan members. Multi-level buildings are in the game, but skyscrapers will not be possible. The building system is said to be very forgiving if mistakes are made. There are structural integrity limitations players must adhere to in terms of support pillars and walls and other physics-based limitations. Building physics is said to be similar to Valheim. It is possible to build on water. Curved walls are not currently in the game, but they will be considered. Angles can be achieved by overlapping when placing building components. Players can build in any way they want. If they want to build a tavern, they can, but these are not implicit building types that the game provides. Players will also build all crafting and resource gathering stations. The number of plots you have is the limiting factor on how many structures you can build. All buildings are custom made and not pre-made templates. Doors and signs are not currently in the game, but will be. Modifiable signs are something the devs are working on. The developers aim to make the building unique with plenty of variations possible. Will players be able to venture outside the Heartlands and make their own settlements? Some temporary structures might be buildable outside the Heartlands, such as campfires, campsites, outposts, and tents. Larger scale building might be possible in the future, but not currently. Campfires and torches will have beneficial effects. Building outside of the Heartlands and PvP areas is something that is planned for after launch. As building is only in the Heartlands currently, which are PvP free zones, there is not raiding or player destruction of buildings currently. Trading and politics are potential reasons to visit other settlements. Moving on to crafting, which is another huge system in PAX Day. Crafting is a huge part of the game, and players can make it the main thing they do in the game. Crafters make the best gear in the game. Crafting recipes are a thing, and they might be found. Some crafting is skill-based, some is time or process-based. RNG in crafting can cause crafting failure, but it can also cause a different outcome. This outcome might create a better version of the product, or it might be the same strength with slight variations. Increasing your crafting skill can increase your chance of success. There is no limitations on being able to level only certain crafting professions. Players can choose to be a jack of all trades or to specialize, though either way players likely want to work with other players. Due to space limitations within building plots, the time requirements to level a crafting discipline, and the reliance on other players for crafting, it might be difficult to become a jack of all trades crafter that is self-reliant. Flora and fungi are said to play a huge role in crafting. The Vigils of the World are modular, which can give the players a lot of flexibility during crafting. Food crafting will be in the game and will have a major role. All food will be made by the players, like most things in the game. Moving on to gathering in PAX Day, gathering is said to be a non-system system. Anyone can gather anything without restrictions other than you might need the applicable tool. The known gathering skills and gatherable materials are shown on screen. All visible resources are gatherable, useful, and there is a lot of complexity to them. For instance, from the World FAQ is the following statement about trees. In fact, the first resource document that was written for this project was a 72-page treatise called Trees in PAX Day, listing 21 different species of trees, the conditions they need to thrive, an overview of their material properties, hardiness, brittleness, grain size, how they burn, the difference in qualities of their sapwood and heartwood, which fungi grow on them, what fauna follows them, as well as
Yeah, they're gonna have to knock this crafting thing out of the park because otherwise it's gonna be very, very tedious and potentially impossible if you don't have a big enough group. That's probably the biggest thing I would concern myself with. It'd be cool if you could say get NPC people to like go and build on your base with you and slowly help you with some of these crafting issues. But I don't know, because the way the game's going to be set up is going to be very, very player driven. Like you're going to have players connect with each other and not kill each other long enough to build things and get better at the game. And then there's going to be a huge power imbalance. So like if somebody gets very, very strong early, they could potentially take over the whole map. Just be one mega guild.
listing mythical and magical properties they might have. Needless to say, everyone will start the game as a layman when it comes to identifying the different qualities of wood, but as the game progresses, old knowledge is rediscovered and hidden lore is unearthed. Some will no doubt start seeing the forest in a different light. The mechanics of how resources respawn is said to vary by resource, but we don't know any details on whether they respawn in the same location, random locations, random timers, etc. Some resources will respawn regularly, others might have longer respawn timers. Trees currently respawn in the same place they were to begin with, and they regrow pretty fast, but this is something that is subject to balancing going forward. Resources will spawn in different areas that make sense geographically. How are resources distributed? Well,
I could see PvP, like people leaving the game for that as well, because if new players are gathering resources for an extended period of time, and then like a big clan like shows up and takes all their stuff, that could be a problem as well.
most basic resources can be commonly found. Most resources tend to be distributed in an asymmetrical pattern. Their exact location and their abundance are dependent mainly on geological factors. Hence, people who spend some time out and about looking for specific resources should relatively quickly learn where it is best to look. Moving on to the economy of PAX Day. PAX Day is a 100% player-driven economy with all settlements being player built, and the best gear being crafted. The currency is presumed to be gold, and this is a physical item that takes up bag space and not a balance in your account. Like everything else, it is freely tradable. There will be gold sinks in the game. Player-run shops and businesses are possible, but as emergent gameplay, not as bespoke systems. The developers do want the logistics and distances to matter for trade. Trade runs will be an example of emergent gameplay and not likely something built into the game systems. We've seen evidence of pack mules that might be used for this purpose. Moving on to the platform this game is being developed for. PAX Day is being developed for Steam on PC only at the start, but they're working on having eventual support for console as well. The game is also said to be cloud native, but currently the game does compute locally. Mainframe definitely wants this MMO to incorporate a lot of natural social interactions, and they do so by removing as many barriers as possible that prevent emergent gameplay. Clans are a social group within the game, and there are no limitations on clan size, as that would be a limitation on emergent gameplay.
That I can see as a problem right there. No limitation on clan size means that there's going to be 1 or 2 mega clans take over on the map, because literally a clan could just grow exponentially after the start of the game, seal off all the player starting areas and everything else, and then even if the clan does disappear, it's going to be a problem, you know.
There will be clan permissions for crafting and storage. There might be other social organizations in the game as well, besides just clans, but we don't know the details of that yet. In-game voice chat is likely to be in the game at some point. The developers want it to be easy to find your friends in the game. Politics between clans and players will be a thing, but how much will be based on emergent gameplay versus in-game systems is yet to be seen. Religion is in the game and is said to be deep and complex. Solo and casual play is feasible, but bigger goals like dungeons and world bosses will require groups. There are plans for an extensive ambient audio system that takes into account many different factors based on a player's current location in the world. As for servers, the game will not have mega servers. It will instead have sharded servers. The goal at the launch is for 20,000 players per shard. The game does utilize server stitching, wherein the smallest parcels of land, which are the size of a home valley or wildlands, is hosted on one UE5 server. And players, when walking to a new parcel of land, will seamlessly transition to a different server. The smallest sized areas of land are roughly
You still here, old man? I had some stuff covering it. Ooh, shoot. Yeah. They come out with those new monsters and scum and stuff yet? I need to check it out again. I really wish the people from Scum would be open to helping build like another game after they're done with Scum, but I don't know. I still got time. I don't know if you saw like Star Citizen's CitizenCon either, but they have Star Citizen's engine is getting more and more advanced. So by the time Star Citizen actually releases, it's gonna be probably the next evolution of game engine. DLC. Could be interesting. Yeah. I backed Scum like 10 or 11 years ago, I think. Here's my thing though, is like I would have backed Scum as like a stock. but it's like a privately owned company, so you have to be like a private investor, which they got people to do that. Like I would have preferred to have backed it as a stock than to like just buy a ship because I knew how like the game engine, if it works well, like it's potentially a huge money investment, but we don't have the option to invest in it. But it should be good. They said Squadron 42 is in polishing phase, so I'm gonna give it a couple of years maybe. But that's gonna be the real telltale. Like if Squadron 42 does well, it's gonna dump in a bunch more money into them. It's basically gonna be just a walking advertisement for Star Citizen. And I very much doubt that they messed it up, but we'll see. The only thing that could really mess up like Star Citizen and stuff is if like their quests kind of system is just boring. Other than that, I don't think there'd be much issue. I was thinking about hopping back on Star Citizen at some point, but I haven't played it in a long time. Yeah. I've kind of popped back and forth. Like, I like Scum. I really think Scum is doing something really nice. I just don't have, see, that's good. See, when you have a community and two servers, like, I was going to try and remake my server on there, but the people that were going to play with me, they didn't end up playing it, so I just don't have anyone that can really play with me in most games, so I get kind of worn out. Yeah. Well, the other thing is like how the changes that they made to the economy kind of made it hard to remake my server. Trying to remember exactly what all. I think it was the gold or or is the reputation. I think it was the reputation that you needed to get items took a while. Basically like because you required reputation to buy items from traders and it was an animal based economy, if you got into PvP you just get shut out. I mean, running two servers, I mean, that's going to be kind of rough. That's the other thing though, is like if you get so invested in like running communities and stuff too, you can get burnout after a while. Yeah. I really only have one person that plays games with me anymore. So that's part of the reason like I went over to play Baldur's Gate with them for a while, but they're like a single mom and they're like a military wife and stuff, so and they don't like have a bunch of money to spend on games, but territory capture could be interesting. You still run into the issue of like one side becoming too strong and taking over the whole map, but that's pretty good. Hey, I got a question. Let's say like if I did like a game review of something, right? Do you think game day or game time would be like a better kind of title for it, you know? Just kind of wondering about this. Because I kind of want to make some things that combine streamers together into like a mass, you know? So like instead of everybody having to cover the same game 24/7, you could kind of like find streamers to review things. I mean, I don't know if my take on games is necessarily special. I kind of butt heads with a bunch of people with a bunch of different games, but in general, I've never really bought a game that has really let me down, I guess. I've avoided like all the times that people say that games went to like suck after a certain point, like I've avoided all of them. I avoided the Diablo drama, avoided the Halo drama, avoided the Call of Duty drama. Yeah. People almost got me to try Diablo again. I haven't played Diablo since like Diablo 2 or something though. And I think Diablo was a good game in the past, but it's showing its age. Yeah. Everyone said Diablo went to hell after Diablo 3. I don't know. When I sense some like it's like I'll be playing a game and I'll sense some blood in the water, like something seems off and like I understand if you've played a game for a really long time, if you're a big fan, how you want to like you want to give them the chance and you want to keep working, but like all the streamers, like say like Starfield came out, all of the streamers and stuff, they still bought the game and they still went and reviewed the game, and that means all of their followers, the millions and millions, there's had to have been a number of them that played the game just because the streamer played the game, and then they tell everyone it's dumb and not worth the money, but everyone already has the game, whereas like I just didn't buy it. Like you're given like time, you're giving the companies time and money. Yeah, well, I mean everyone got to make content and stuff, but that's why like I kind of want to make a channel for like YouTube or something where it's not just like most people that do like a game review channel or something, it's their own reviews and stuff. I kind of want to find like a bunch of streamers and then do game reviews where all the streamers come together into one channel and then I can just split the profits with everybody. Then people can just go to one channel and then one person from like the community of streamers can like review individual games. Maybe. So, because like going and reviewing a game after like a week of gameplay or something can be kind of iffy. These people like they'll play like I don't know, cause like I don't want to go buy and review a bunch of games that I don't think are worth it. I'll review them as they give me content to like look at, and then I'll decide if it's good enough to buy. But I don't want to like play games just to tell people how much it sucks. Yeah. Well, I was looking at like thinking about names the other day, and like at first I was thinking Game Day, but then like the NFL has Game Day kind of like trademarked, but they have a specific version of Game Day trademarked. And then um each type of business can trademark the same thing. But NFL has games, so I don't know if they've trademarked like Game Day for games. But then like game time, I was talking to some players on Guild Wars and they were saying game time sounds better. So I could make either of those work. But Yeah, I mean, any like a catchy name like that makes sense. I kind of like my original thought was if I was starting it by myself, that I could go and kind of review a game. I think game time might have been taken. Yeah, I don't remember. My phone's been broken, so like I haven't really looked into it, but yeah. Yeah, that one it doesn't have a space though. This one does. This is the other one, I think. Trump and Biden go through Minecraft. Holy shit. Only 3 subscribers?
Hi everyone, today Trump and I are going to continue to go through Minecraft.
And this is the second part of our survival. Let's get started. So I settled on taking a bucket of lava. Oh, I have already melted 3 iron, now I will make an iron pick.
I found some really big canyon. There are obviously a lot of resources there. I'm going down there.
This cave is huge. I think I should continue to mine resources in this cave.
I'm not opposed to what he's doing with this Minecraft thing, but I think he kind of like he gets the voice, but he doesn't like have the saying. Like Trump would be like, "I'm gonna build the best pick the world has ever seen," and he like goes down in this cave and he's like, "This cave is massive, not as big as Trump Tower, but it's close." He cut and paste it. Biden needs to forget where he's at and walk the wrong way in this
Oh,
fucking
there are
cave.
2 zombies. One of them with an iron sword. Not a problem. I killed them.
I have melted down some more iron.
Wouldn't surprise me. There's so much scummy stuff on the internet. Like, my faith in the world is slowly degraded. I was watching some stuff the other day about, well, first they have people embedding things on like, on wiki pages. And then they have like a dude that was a streamer that was asking like his followers and other streamers for money, and he got like probably at least like $500,000 from them, you know. And then like every business that I've seen in like the real world just it's falling apart. Like there's no morals in it. There was a streamer, or not a streamer, or yeah, there was a streamer guy who he started up like a Bitcoin kind of thing, one of those e-coins, got people to invest in it. Then he took all the money, and then he was just like, "Well, you shouldn't have trusted people on the internet." You know, it's like shit that my brother would have did when I was younger, because like he would like you'd play Halo with him, and he would just troll the shit out of you for no reason. Yeah, that's why like we just need uh, God, like a streamer conference, and like when someone does some bullshit like that, we just go out of our way to ruin their life. You know, like because they just go scot free. They can go and scam people, and then they just delete their account, make a new account or whatever. In like 10 years, people forget. You know. See, but I'm slowly working on some lore for my game. I'm gonna try and write it into a book. My problem is I'm having a hard time coming up with names and stuff, and I don't remember fully how to write books because it's been like 20 years since I've like read an actual book. But I have like the backstory and the lore down, and I think it'd make a really kind of interesting game. I even have like if I was gonna make a game, I have the whole first thing built and ready to go. You know, like the first like yeah, I've seen stuff with the day before. That's something I remember watching that like years ago, and I kind of researched the people who made the game, and I just didn't trust it. but it almost seems like they made a bunch of games and they abandoned projects and they sold them, and then they got the backing of an actual company or something on this last one, so they're being forced to kind of make it. So it's like, oh, is it? November 1st, release date. I don't know if they've kind of bumped that release date back a lot. The zombie design is kind of interesting. See, but like this time, I'm pretty sure they had a company, like they have a development company or something that like invested in them or something like that. So they're probably being forced to kind of build the game and ship it out. So they might actually finish this one, but my thing is, even if it is a good game, I would be tempted not to buy it just because the people that made it. Just morally, I might just be like, fuck those guys. But, I mean, the graphics here kind of look, I don't know, it's hard to tell. They have a bunch of, like, glowing signs, and the buildings and stuff are kind of hard to see. Kind of gives me, like, Grand Theft Auto vibes, almost. That right there, I'm trying to see that. So, like, this looks clean and good, but there's something kind of weird about this. Like, look at the fingers and stuff. Like, it looks clean, but it also kind of like, I don't know. Cause like it's clean, and then you have like this like fuzziness. It's almost too clean. I don't know. I don't know what this is here. Like this is like look like Forza. But you see, so it's like Grand Theft Auto, but like look like the car, like this metal is kind of clean and like slick, and then but then like right here it's like rough for some reason, and the tail lights are like square, and they look, I don't know, like it seems like there's like a clash of like pixels or something going on. I haven't looked at this game in a long time. Like, look at that. I can't say it looks bad. It's just something seems off here. I can't really tell what the building textures look like. Like the brick wall and stuff, it's just one color. It's hard to tell. I'm sure it probably is going to end up feeling like Grand Theft Auto. I almost bet. I don't even remember exactly what the game is about.
The Day Before offers a uniquely reimagined journey into post-apocalyptic.
This ball looks like Unreal 5 or something. It's that kind of metal that Unreal does. But these buildings are very... It's like Unreal 5 Grand Theft Auto.
MMO
Look
Open
at that bike. Hold up.
4 offers a uniquely reimagined journey.
Yeah. You got to be skeptical when it comes to AIs, man. People have AI voices on their videos, but like this bike here is like really flat and kind of rusty and stuff. They're also like, last I heard, they were taking what you call it, like free help from the online community. See, but like this thing right here is, I don't know what this is, like some fast food or like ordering kiosk or something, but it's like just a triangle with this thing. It gives me very Grand Theft Auto vibes. But I don't get the deal with this. The all-new Book Go. It seems like they almost have like real-world advertisements on these buildings almost. 3 Ryan Park. Yeah, I never really looked over the Division. I remember seeing some stuff about it in the comparisons. But...
into post-apocalyptic MMO open world survival, artfully developed.
So like this stuff right here. So like I know that they took a bunch of their advertisement posters and stuff from other games and they basically copied their pictures and stuff, kind of get nostalgia from people. I don't know a whole lot about the Division. I really don't, but like what I'm getting from this is like these cars and like how the buildings and these tarps and stuff look give me like Grand Theft Auto and like miscreated type of graphics vibes. Like
By Fantastic, and brought to you by the publisher Mytona.
Yeah,
The open world of the day before is beautiful and richly detailed.
Beautiful and richly detailed.
World survival, artfully developed by Fantastic, and brought.
I mean, I would say these metal things are interesting. The Ocean Mall. But like all the buildings are super flat. And like all the buildings are really flat and kind of hard to tell what they're made of, and then they have these posters every fucking where, advertisements everywhere, and then like the buildings look nice, and then all the windows are there, but then all the cars are fucked up. But like this tent's messed up too. I don't know. It's kind of confusing. Unless these are broken windows. But if these, like, I don't think these are broken windows, but if they were, they're in the same areas. There's no randomness to it.
Brought to you by the publisher Mytona. The open world of the.
This is a building from Call of Duty. They got some zombies down there. They look very standard, just kind of basic zombie puppet things.
The day before is beautiful and richly detailed.
Freedom or bank, or freedom or death. That's what that is. Yeah. Yeah, that's something Scum needs to do. As soon as they do that, that game's gonna be way, way different, especially in hard servers. Like even before they make monsters and stuff go out into the open world, if they get the puppets and zombies going through windows and doors, it's gonna change that game drastically. This right here, I mean, it doesn't look bad, but it's like what's throwing me off a bit is like this is a post-apocalyptic world, but like if you look here, like the sidewalk and stuff is dirty, the barbed wire and stuff is perfectly pristine. These tents are fucked up. The building is perfect. Nothing wrong with the building at all. You know? So it's this weird mixture of like really nice looking buildings and like really run down other things that's going on here. And I like depending on how long the zombies or whatever has been taken over, like maybe it would make sense, but NPCs like enemy AI or like quest givers, Tech 1 agents. I'm guessing they'll just be in bunkers. If they let any of those AI like leave the bunkers and go into the forest, it's gonna kill a lot of people.
set in the present day on the U.S. East.
I mean, this house looks good. Like, I don't think people are going to complain about anything in this game so far. Like, people are going to play it no matter what. But it's just a weird mixture of, like, perfectly clean trash can, perfectly fine trash bags, exploded burnt cars everywhere, perfectly fine houses. But you see, like, there's a light here, so I don't know if they have, like, a power grid system, if they're going to have players be able to take over these buildings and, like, live in them or something. Like, this mailbox is, like, perfect. There's, like, nothing wrong with this mailbox. Even got some mail in there.
East Coast, following a deadly pandemic.
Yeah, I played some of the abandoned bunkers when they came out and stuff. Basically, when everyone was doing the abandoned bunker content when it released, I was retesting skills, and then I went and did the abandoned bunkers, and that's when I made the ultimate build or whatever. And people were debating me about it on Reddit. But basically, I made a build that was well-rounded, and everything was based around 30 levels of leveling in game. And it was like, I think it had like medium lockpicking and medium stealth because they changed. It's been a while, I don't remember the stats, but they changed the XP gain for like lockpicking. But with medium stealth, and I think we had melee. I don't remember if I had melee skill or not, but basically I started the game with like a metal axe, and I could run into those abandoned bunkers and stand up and run and not trigger any of the vents. And I cleared the whole thing with my melee weapon. So like basically all those extra fuses that they give you at the very first level of the abandoned bunker, or they did in the past, you use those to clear the first few floors with a melee weapon. So you just slowly clear them all out and keep reusing the fuses over and over. And then you go down to the next level with the better fuses afterwards. But yeah, graphically though, I mean the game doesn't look bad. You could give a pass to these buildings. It just something just seems a little off with the footage. I also don't know because like in their old videos they had cars and stuff sinking in the mud, so I don't know if that's in the game or not.
The game begins after you are rescued by the survivors of the Woodbury colony.
I mean, this old guy.
The game begins after you are.
This guy looks good. I can't tell if it's just like a cinematic or part of it, but it's something like he looks good, but like he's a little bit too clean, like a little bit too perfect. Like there's something off about it. But I think people are gonna let it pass. It isn't gonna be that big of a deal. I don't know why they got a fucking ceiling fan right next to this light though. That's weird.
You are rescued by the survivors of the
aesthetics. I mean, I don't know what they've said they're gonna have in the game for like quests or interactive things, so I don't know. It might just be a completely empty game that players. I don't even know if it's multiplayer. I don't like. I haven't looked into this game that much. I remember watching stuff about it. I think it was supposed to be multiplayer.
Woodbury colony. Your new.
But like when you play Grand Theft Auto, like there isn't hardly anything that's interactive in Grand Theft Auto. Like you have like an ATM, you order stuff. All of this really feels kind of that way. See, like weird stuff like this, like all these pictures and things, they're like super nice, even though it's the apocalypse. And then like it looks like this bottle is like octagon shaped or something weird, you know? MMO. Open world survival MMO. Wonder how many players they're gonna have on a map, because I don't know. That makes me sound like when you say MMO, it makes me think they don't really need to put in that many. If it's an MMO, I wouldn't expect the zombies to be very threatening. Like, it would probably be Grand Theft Auto, where you're stealing each other's cars and shooting at other players, and then the zombies are just kind of around.
Refuge and safe home.
From now on, the doors of Woodbury will always be open to you.
But first, you will create your unique character. Select a personality, choose a gender, and customize every detail, immersing yourself in our vision of post-apocalyptic America. Woodbury survivors are working to rebuild the community, constantly needing supplies.
Woodbury children. It doesn't seem like there's I don't feel like you're gonna be able to loot these lockers or anything. I think it's just kind of a first.
Building materials and various
Multiple guns, you got a bag, everything looks crisp. It doesn't look like there's anything that you're going to interact with in here. Maybe like a shop or something you can buy things from. Yeah, well, I'm fairly sure that they copied stuff from other games making this game. I'm sure it'll probably be an alright game, but I don't expect anything super amazing from it.
items. Your main task is to bring as much valuable loot as possible, and in return, you'll be rewarded with the local currency known as Woodbury coins.
Woodbury coins? So basically, you're going out into the world, you're looting stuff, and you're bringing it back to Woodbury for money. Now, if there isn't any player housing or anything like that that you can take over in the city, it's really going to depend on the players. Like, this is going to be the kind of thing like Tarkov, where if you loot enough, you just get bored and there isn't anything to do. It's basically Grand Theft Auto.
I'll need your junk.
Keep track of your health, hunger, and thirst indicators. And remember, dangers are everywhere here, ranging from the vicious infected to other players who are ready to take everything from you. We've designed...
They said that the dangers are infinite, and there's only two things that they told us about. So zombies and players, which zombies are going to probably be not even a factor for the most part, unless there's just a massive horde that jumps you. It's going to be players. So if the servers die, this game's going to suck. We haven't seen anyone like fix or repair vehicles or anything either. Like, we don't know if any of these vehicles can be driven. I'm assuming you're probably gonna like buy vehicles. Everything's oddly clean though. I don't see a ladder or anything on this.
Survival in this world to be a thrilling experience. The weapons, which can be modified, are made with maximum realism to ensure that combat remains deep and engaging at all times. Each weapon boasts unique characteristics.
Realism. I don't like these sales pitch words that they use, like maximum realism. You're aiming with a white dot. I don't know if you're hip firing or aiming, but aiming down a white dot. It's not maximum realism, but
as well as realistic reload and recoil mechanics as all times. Each weapon boasts unique characteristics, as well as realistic Each weapon boasts unique characteristics, as well as real times. Each weapon boasts unique characteristics.
It looked like 2 or 3 shots to kill that zombie in the chest with the Mosin. He shot 4 there. But then we just look at the
all
zombie
times.
movement.
Each weapon boasts unique characteristics. Unique characteristics. Unique characteristics. Unique characteristics. Unique characteristics.
Some bright muzzle flash. My thing right here, I'm looking at this zombie run. So these zombies have like this kind of slowish sprint going on, and it's kind of blocky looking. I'm trying to look at his animation, but it basically looks just kind of like riot mode from the old Grand Theft Autos. I don't think these zombies are going to be that sophisticated. They probably just get attracted to the noise. Depending on how many there are, though, could be the key here.
Weapon boasts unique characteristics.
But like, look at that guy run right there on the left. Look at it.
Characteristics. Unique characteristics. Unique characteristics. Unique characteristics. Boasts unique characteristics. Boasts unique characteristics.
Like, for like a basic generic zombie, it's fine, but when you look at that guy run, you're shooting 4 shots with a Mosin. That guy, he's like sprinting or whatever. He moves like 4 or 5 feet. But then like just look at the way the body moves and stuff. It's very blocky and rigid.
As well as realistic, boasts unique characteristics. As
Slow.
As well as unique characteristics.
Blocky.
As characteristics. As characteristics. As characteristics. As characteristics. As well characteristics. As well as realistic reload and recoil mechanics. Completing various community tasks also presents an opportunity to earn Woodbury coins.
Well, well, who do I see here? How's it going, my friends?
Woodbury coins can be exchanged for ammo, from regular to armor-piercing, weapons, protective equipment, backpacks, food, drinks, and medicines. Spa access to relax, and a gym to work out.
It's GTA. It's survival GTA. I don't like, so like these, the helmet and stuff, this is very Tarkov-esque. So they have like a lot of things that are similar to Tarkov. But like when you say there's a spa to relax, that's nothing in my head. That's nothing but like a social thing. Like there's no point to set in a spa unless there's like some sort of healing thing. The other thing is like this is supposed to be like a survival game against a zombie apocalypse and you're setting in a spa. But why are we going to the gym if not to level up our strength or something, which is like just the same sort of thing they have in Grand Theft Auto. So you're going to give us like a superficial thing to go level up. I mean, I can't say it's bad, but it very Grand Theft Auto vibes. I don't know. Cuz like people are wanting like things to lift and like get your strength going in Scum as well. But I think Scum just has like the graphics and stuff in Scum just look better. The hunting mechanics and stuff in Scum I think are probably better. You know, like we don't see any bow and arrow action here. We don't see any animals so far. It looks like just loot and containers. But all the pictures and stuff are like
Safeguard
very
your accumulated items
crisp.
by storing them in secure storage. Exchange Woodbury coins for cars to swiftly collect loot and access distant, hard-to-reach locations.
Okay, so you're getting cars by using coins. So you're probably not getting cars off of the street. That's probably not a thing.
Coins for cars. To
These right
swiftly
here, these right here are like Lamborghinis or some shit.
collect-
Sports cars.
Exchange Woodbury coins for cars to swiftly collect loot and access distant, hard-to-reach.
Look how fucking... Unless it takes forever for these cars to speed up, this is fucking... Yeah, that random... See, here's the thing, too, is, like, I didn't like the new hunting system in Scum either when it first came out. Because I couldn't find any animals, and then it took forever for them to spawn. But since I had to figure out how to, like, that's another thing with running an animal server is, like, it makes hunting a lot more, like, difficult when you're playing in a server where everyone's looking for animals. But also, like, it's hard for you to watch your surroundings and watch tracks to find the stuff. But I actually got good enough to hunt without needing any awareness skill and stuff in that game. So, I mean, it takes a lot of practice, but basically there's information that people need to figure out when it comes to hunting. If I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of the new system. I think they at least need to keep the predator animals spawning, like the wolves and the bears and stuff. But um the animals have like specific times of the day and night that they spawn, and then there's certain areas that they spawn. Yeah, well, the bear can spawn, but it doesn't always spawn. If you're like in the area of a bear and you like walk in its general direction, they sometimes spawn in front of you. And I think I've had wolves do it once. But overall, like, the way they have the hunting system set up now, I understand that it's probably going to help with performance, and there's potentially things that they could do with AI and other creatures finding you while you hunt in the future. But basically, like, the different animals have certain times of day that they spawn, and then they have certain biomes that they spawn in, and certain areas that they spawn in. So there's a lot of information that a player needs to know besides just where they are, because, like, the old system, I found areas where a lot of animals spawned, and it was fine. And then with the new system, I couldn't find those areas, and then I started going back to where I used to go, and then testing different times, and then different areas, different, like, towns and stuff. And so, like, the chickens spawn, like, around those like little village towns. The chickens spawn like during the day. The boars spawn like at night. The wolves and stuff are spawning like in the afternoons and in the mornings, like the bears and stuff, you know. But it's a lot of information to pile on somebody, you know, compared to the old system. I'm split on it. I like the idea of having, like, if you made a survival team joining the game, having someone that's a really good hunter on your team would be more important compared to the old system. But the new system's also kind of annoying because sometimes you lose your stuff and it's hard to fucking do. But basically, this day before game, though, it seems like you're gonna have to buy your car from the town center or whatever the fuck's going on. Probably none on the streets. You don't know if you can steal these cards from other players, but we do know that there's PvP, and we don't know if there's PvP zones, but if there isn't PvP zones, these cars move too slow to avoid player interaction. Like, they're just going to shoot you in these cars. Like, these are a liability. The drifting is super slow. Their speed looks super slow. And then if you're looting and leaving your vehicle on the road, it's going to give away your position and also let them set up an ambush and or destroy your shit while you're not at your car. So,
Coins for cars.
but like, look
to
at this.
Swiftly collect loot.
Like, okay, so like it's not super fast, but it's not super slow. Like, we can see on the right here, 200 out of 200 health, I guess, and then the fuel's like 15 out of 40 liters. So, like, I guess you're getting gas either at gas stations or in town. It doesn't tell you the speed, but the speed doesn't look super fast.
Exchange Woodbury coins for cars to swiftly collect loot and access distant, hard-to-reach locations. You will receive your own ranch, where you can purchase and upgrade houses, as well as install furniture and decorations. The ranch serves as your cozy, safe oasis amidst the post-apocalyptic chaos. Welcome to the next generation of post-apocalyptic MMO open-world survival games like never before. Immerse yourself.
That looks like that gate from Jurassic Park. What do they mean by you get a ranch? Every person on the server is going to get a safe ranch zone? Is it the same house? Because if everyone's safe zone is the same ranch, you're going to have some problems. Because PvP, they're going to camp the shit out of it. And if they have it to where players can purchase... well, maybe that would make sense, but you still have to get there somehow. If everyone has the same exact safe zone, then there has to be a route to get there, unless it's like a menu option. But then if they have you buy your own ranches, there's not enough property, you know. I'm assuming it's GTA. Like, you have houses that you can buy in GTA, but they're the same houses for everybody.
In the day before.
The Day Before, early access December 7.
I haven't heard this voice in a long time. That's like that old,
The Day Before, early access December 7.
What game is that off of? There's like old games that this voice says something in.
The Day Before, early access December 7.
I feel like it was some sort of like... It said early access December 7th, so it's not even fully releasing. It's early access. That compared to 2 years ago.
Everything's in there.
So far, I'm very much on the edge about it. Like, I think it's probably like gonna be an okay-ish game if the way, but I don't see anything particularly special about it. Like, you could go play what the fuck is that game? Like there's an old game where like you're a guy stuck in a mall and there's zombies everywhere. And you can like use lawnmowers and everything in the mall to like kill them and stuff. Like you probably play that game and get more interesting gameplay out of it than what I'm seeing with this.
Anyone could win this still.
Grab a Monster Energy and go play Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3.
So today.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is like a lot of people are very they buy into things
Today's a
way
pretty
too
exciting
easy.
day. I'm going to be completely honest. When we first showcased this game here on the channel a couple of months ago, a new game, watch.
The guy looks like the dude in the picture.
13-minute footage. I am even more excited, and I feel like this game is going to be very promising. It is expected, or so I read.
All right, first off, I don't know who this guy is, but groomed, fancy headphones, streamer mic, whale hat. The whale hat. Throwing me off.
To come out later this
So that's saying he's like a whale. He's like in-game purchases, pay to win.
year, Q2 possibly. I'm not too sure, so don't quote me on that. If you guys have the correct answer, you can feel free to correct me in the comments below.
Get this mood lighting in the background.
But I just finished watching.
Is that a pillow? What it? I'm trying to understand what's. It's kind of off topic, but I'm just like looking at his background. He has it blurred out, but he has like a dim mood light over the top of what looks like two pillows here. And then over here, there's like a bust of a head on like a, it kind of looks like a shelf for like a cat toy.
Watching something that looks so good. And for those of you that have never ever seen this game by any chance, it is essentially an MMO survival game where you have player versus zombies, and you will see it has vibes of The Last of Us, The Division. Some of the HUD elements look kind of like Red Dead Redemption-ish, but most importantly, it feels like if
this is a video from 2 years ago,
The Last of Us and The Division came together and made a game. It looks fantastic. It looks beautiful, and I think this is going to be very promising, and I think it's going to deliver. So far, everything we've seen looks really crisp. I'll let you guys be the judge of that. Check out this brand new 13-minute footage of gameplay provided by IGN, and let me know what you think in the comments below.
I'm Oliver Frost, and this is probably my last radio broadcast.
This right here is way, way, way more detailed than what we just saw in that last stuff.
So the thing I would say was
boring.
And this take for
freaking
the world
5 minutes of radio.
Ooh, I like art.
Oh, let me look at this. See, this was the car thing. So we just looked at some of their cars a second ago. Those sports cars. If they have this mud stuff, those sports cars aren't going to be good. So I would say that's interesting. If they still have these environmental elements to deal with cars, that's kind of interesting. Because we see, like, I guess this is water or gas or something. It looks like they've changed, like the fuel gauge and everything's completely different from the other video. And this has battery, I guess fuel, and whatever that is, temperature or something. And then a fuel gauge. So they've changed whatever that is on the cars. Screenshot on a green screen, yeah. I guess that's true. I don't mess with green screens that much. I don't know how big their map is either. Like, the other video was just a big city. It kind of looks like there's a tower in the background here, but this is all country. So, depending on how big their map is and stuff, probably the most interesting thing so far that I've seen is the potential for there to be different effects driving different vehicles across the map.
Ooh, I like it. I like it. Wow, look at the scenery, huh? So here we are, for the very first time ever, it seems like we're seeing driving mechanics.
But I'm fairly sure there was video footage that came out after this that had a scene like this, and the vehicles and everything looked way, way worse, from what I recall.
The first gameplay that we showcased here on the channel, it was kind of, we caught the driving towards the end, because the guy started off by getting off the car and then, you know, kind of cruising through New York, or so it seemed.
What happens if your car
the
gets
physics
stuck?
Look exceptionally well. You can tell on the ripples of the water, the mud. Oh, this is gonna be. And again, I want you guys to take a look at the bottom left. You have your, you know, what it seems to be like your hydration, temperature on the bottom right. Look at that scenery right there with that plane crash. I mentioned this on the last video that the HUD actually reminded me of Red Dead Redemption 2. These videos that we've been getting, I'm going to be playing this game.
Yeah, these are the things that they said had like vertical slices of the game taken out. I almost wonder if there's any instance-based missions that you go on, like single-player missions from that town. Because the other video was just showing a massive city in Woodbury, but like this is all countryside. The vehicles and stuff are fairly similar, but I'm pretty sure that the graphics, like there's another video of this same thing, like a few years after this, that was a worse, if I recall. So this was from a year ago. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be necessarily terrible. I just don't think it's going to be worth my money.
It's a real-time strategy game.
The vehicle thing's probably the most
For some time
interesting
now,
thing
The
I've
Day
seen so
Before
far.
has been Steam's #1 most wish-listed game, which is kind of insane when you consider that it's a brand new IP coming from a fairly unknown developer. Fantastic is a studio that up until
Then they have like the aiming, that circular aiming from some games, like you're not 100% accurate, so it's like
until recently had only
It's
ever
weird
made
stuff.
small, early access indie titles that they abandoned, and a mobile game. Their most recent release, Prop Night, isn't doing particularly hot at the moment either. So for them to all of a sudden have a game in development that more people want than any other upcoming game on Steam, it's kind of crazy. Currently, more people are interested in The Day Before than A Plague Tale Requiem, Arc Raiders, Nightingale, Marvel's Spider-Man, Modern Warfare 2, Stalker 2, even Starfield, a brand new zombie game from an unknown developer. More people are interested in that than in Starfield. Now that could be an argument for where Starfield's at. I think it's clearly a testament to how much desire still exists for the zombie survival genre that's been unfulfilled within the gaming community, but also how much gameplay trailers with decent looking graphics can really sell the idea of a game to people. But I beg of you, as much as you may want this to be an amazing next-gen zombie survival PvP MMO, which is what they're calling it, please temper your expectations. The red flags are so numerous, I have lost count of the number of concerning issues around this game and around its developer. But I don't know, let's try adding them up, shall we? Starting with the
Asians. No, I was playing.
developer. These are the people who are making the game, so it goes without saying that their history is a fairly important thing to consider. Fantastic is a studio that was founded back in 2015 by two brothers who, according to their mission statement, dreamed of creating a global organization that would work on world-class games. With that objective in mind, they began work on their very first title, The Wild 8. The Wild 8 was a top-down survival action game set in the frozen
Something I'll say just off the bat, like, just even what their statement is or whatever, I don't necessarily, like, whether they end up making their games good or not over the long period of their development of different games, I just feel like these two are kind of scummy. Either way, like, I'm sure there's things that you have to make choices with in business, but something just isn't right with these two. And I think it's like, I think it's kind of like they don't have the heart for their projects. They're not in the projects for a love of the game or what they're trying to do. Like, their statement is that they want to work on like top end world-class games, not like develop their passion of making games. They're in it for money. Yeah. Quick money. Everything's quick money these days. Money, money, money!
wilderness of Alaska. Players could go around gathering resources, fighting creatures, building, crafting. You know, it was the standard survival shtick. Now, initial reception was fairly positive, with the game scoring some decent reviews when it first entered early access in February 2017. However, things turned south very quickly. Shortly after the early access launch, Fantastic sold the rights to the game to their publisher. Why? Well, according to them, we sold the Wild 8 to our publisher. This decision was very hard for us because our team was hoping to always...
Yeah, I trust the Scum devs a lot more as well. Like, I feel like if anything happened to Scum, they would probably fix it like really quick. Like they would do something to make it go to the next level. Plus, like all the extra features that they've added. Like if we compare Scum to this game from what we know at the moment, this game has cars. Scum has cars. This game probably is just going to be exploding cars with like not really a whole lot of involvement. Scum has components and things that you can take off of cars and stuff, and have continuously updated it, and they have different types of vehicles, and they all look really nice. Although they took the truck out and stuff like a while back, I was a little upset about. This game is ground vehicles. Scum has air vehicles as well. This game has zombies. Scum has puppets, potentially other crazy monsters, creatures, probably better lore, big ass robots, tech companies. You know, this game is just going to be like open world survival. Scum's going to have open world survival stuff. Probably a better crafting system and things like that. Better base building. You know, this game is probably going to have buying things from a store just like GTA, making money. You know, and there's not like a whole lot of extra onto this other game that we're seeing. Yeah, I can't wait for the truck. I didn't really like those little Pinto cars, but yeah, plus like the modular parts on the trucks and Scum, like that's something I didn't even like expect was like the doors and the armor and all that stuff. Like Miscreated had some modular things for cars, but it wasn't as in depth as Scum. Like even like the thing for like tire jacks isn't like super common in games. But like if we really break down what this game has told us about so far, you're getting a random farmhouse that you can put furniture and shit in, which you know probably isn't going to be that super amazing. You're going to be able to buy ammo, guns, and armor from a store and vehicles from the store. And then you're going to be able to go into the world and loot items to sell to get money with a bunch of other players that are going to try to shoot you. And then you have some kind of basic zombies. Okay, it's okay, but it's not like a super in-depth crazy game from what we've seen so far. Compared to like Scum, you got like fishing, boats, you got, you know, fucking puppets, you got explosions, you got the mutant zombie things, you got the storyline that's coming with it. You got the trading posts, you got the in-depth vehicle stuff, you got base building anywhere on the map. You know, there's a lot of things that Scum has that this game doesn't even touch. Yeah. That's why I'm a little split on a lot of games too. That's the only thing that I like, because like I get that they had a lore, they have lore for Scum, but honestly, like Scum was a game that I don't even think that they needed a storyline in, and they put a storyline in for anyway. You know, like the very base of what Scum was is just, you know, there's monsters and shit that come in. It's going to be like players versus this environment with crazy monsters showing up. And they could have did a number of things, but like a storyline on top of everything is just like they put a lot more extra in there that they didn't really need to make the game interesting, cuz like in the survival game sense, you don't necessarily need a storyline for the game to be good, but storyline with the monsters. It's kind of like The Forest. Like The Forest alone was a good game, just crafting bases and finding random items and then fighting these like mutant creatures with like really good AI. But then they put a storyline on top of it, and it's kind of like, oh, that's kind of interesting, you know? But ugh. Locomotion. I think it's a movement thing. Movement or ability to move from one place to another. So it kind of depends on the context of what you're saying. Oh, puppet movement. Yeah, if they're using it, if they're using this word in terms of puppet movement, they're probably talking about their ability to like deal with terrain, I would assume. Going over barriers and stuff like that. Yeah, as soon as they get the puppet movement stuff like in the game, like stuff like the big city is going to be nuts. Cuz like just even now, like if you shoot a gun in the big city, you could have like 20, 30, 40 puppets just like running at you. And sometimes all you can do is like jump through windows and then like have them run around. Um and then like it's not even talking about just even climbing. Like if zombies get to the point where they can climb in Scum, there might not be anywhere you can go. Scum development. Okay. Replication graph. Flamethrower capabilities. Encounter manager. That's interesting. When they say encounter manager, I'm thinking it sounds like they're making the game to where they spawn specific enemies at certain periods of time in the game. Kind of like how you're running through the woods and it'll spawn like puppets or animals or something in front of you. Foliage management. I don't know what that's about either. Modular pickup truck. That's going to be a big thing. Tutorial codex. Crafting rework. Setting up encounter presets. Yeah. Yeah. They're about to add in spontaneous AI encounters probably in the forest. Almost bet. Because I'm fairly sure this is probably what they're gonna do in the game is they're gonna put all these monsters and stuff like in the caves and in the bunkers and all of that, and then they're gonna make it to where you're running out in the forest and they're gonna randomly spawn around you. And so they're gonna get that to where it's not like all the time, but it's gonna be like a big threat. I feel like that's probably what's coming. Optimization of coastal architecture. Locomotion animation. Some movement animations. That could also, like, it doesn't necessarily have to be puppets that they're talking about either. Because if they're locomotion animations, movement animations, it could be for creatures. So the raiders and the fucking vent hoppers and all those things, they could be getting those ready to get put in the game. New trailer. I haven't watched any trailers that they've come out with since, but I like watching the Scum's trailers. There's a lot of information that they put in their trailers. I like it. Hunting and banning cheaters. Interesting. This is something that can tax development, though, if they don't do it good. I never really had much issues with cheaters in games, but I don't really collect a bunch of super crazy stuff in survival games. Handheld flamethrowers. Depending on how they do flamethrowers, this might be really powerful. If you really think about this, because if someone can shoot flame like into a building or something and burn you out, that's going to be big. Or like damage your building, like your containers, and destroy all your stuff. Yeah, the range too. Crafting rework. Still encountered. So they've been working on the encounter manager for a little bit. Improved puppet spawners. Interesting. Low poly pickup truck. Techo 1 riot suit armor and helmet. Interesting. Yeah, they've been working on this trailer for a little bit too. All right, sounds good, man. I'll see you in a bit, I guess. If you have a Discord or something, I guess if you can send me a link or whatever, I'll see about joining it at some point. Oh.
Evolve the game. The Wild 8 is our debut project. It brought us first success.
10.7 to 11.4 square kilometers. These areas can be phased if too many players are in these areas. The current limit is 150 players per phase, but over time, the developers want this limit to be much higher. Guilds and groups will be kept on the same phase. PvP areas might have higher phasing limits. Buildings that exist in the world will be available in every phase. It will be rare to see a building built without a player in your phase, but it is possible. Items and chests will be accessible in any phase. Different server types such as PvP and PvE are not likely. The camera perspective of the game is third person, but you can zoom in very close to your character. The hotbar currently has 8 slots in which different weapons and tools can be slotted for swapping between, as well as consumables. There will be UI customization in PAX Day, but the details are not yet known, and this is something that will be done later in development. They do want the default UI to be very good and the best setup for most people without having to adjust everything before you play the game. As for an in-game map and mini-map, not all places in the game will have an in-game map, such as dungeons. And
looks like a fairly big map. Looks like a river or something here, probably a elevated lake or something up here. Interesting.
And the areas that do have a map will not have all the details and will exclude things such as player settlements. There is no fog of war. You do see the whole map of the province you are in. The map gives information on the topography, biomes, and points of interest. It won't give resource areas, mountain passes, or the villages players have created. The game is currently in a friends and family only alpha and is set to begin public alpha testing before the end of 2023. Signups for the alpha are available.
Yeah, I signed up for this alpha. I'm kind of interested if they let me join or not. I'm thinking if they let me join, if I'm not allowed to talk about the game, I still might like record myself playing it and not give any video footage or like crazy details, but maybe my opinion over what it's doing at some point.
Available on their website. There is said to be a lifting of the NDA once the public invites start to go out. There is a friend token that can be used when signing up that will help you get into the same test as your friends. My friend code is RYVE, R-Y-V-E. The alpha has 2 provinces available, Mary and Ancient, with 130 to 150 square kilometers of playable area. Each alpha server at the start will have a capacity of around 7,000 players. The goal for the launch is 20,000 players per server. Finally, there will be server wipes during the alpha. If you want to know more about the lore of PAX Day, be sure to check the applicable wiki page linked in the description. And that is all I have for this video. I know this was a
See, I don't know much about the PAX Day lore, but I have an interest in it because they said that the gameplay is going to be based around mythology and the creatures in the game are supposed to be based around mythological creatures during the medieval time. So like the Basilisk, for instance, they're saying that like when you fight these creatures, you might not be able to just beat them without knowing about them. So like you fight a Basilisk, you might not know how to kill it. And from what I looked at mythology, the Basilisk can like basically kill itself when it sees its reflection, or you can kill it with weasels, and it doesn't like crowing roosters. So like I'm curious to see how they implement these mythological creatures in this game. See if there's anything else that we can kind of check out here.
I'm telling you, it's going to be another hot one out there. In fact, there are heat alerts in effect for New Jersey, feeling like 100 degrees.
We are in a fast food.
I'm kind of interested in this. Asmongold finds
Hello everyone and welcome
topics.
to another PAX Day video. My name is Brian if you happen to be new to the channel, but if you're part of this incredible...
I think I'll watch that fast food thing after this, but I would assume that fast food's become an ass because players that, or people that are working in fast food don't really care about the food. The people making the fast food care about profits and don't really care about the food. And after you stop eating some of that food for a while and you go back and taste it, you wonder why the hell you've ever put that in your mouth.
75,060 of y'all who've hit that subscribe button, who are taking on the challenge to become everyday millionaires and game like nobody else. Welcome in and welcome back. We do things a little bit differently around here. We're a little bit weird from time to time with gaming and talk about financials and real life stuff on occasion, but today we're going to be focusing at 100% on the latest development.
It's another ginger dude.
Updates for PAX Day. There's so much to cover here, and let's start with the latest announcements and news regarding the character creation. When it comes to this game, when it comes to when is this going to release, we don't have a specific date, but they are starting to tease more access to the alpha, and what you're going to see in this video is alpha gameplay footage that has been provided by the developers. So if you guys are curious, you can always go check the main site for this if you want to just go watch the footage without any of my commentary and any of the questions and details on screen. But I thank you guys if you just choose to stick around here for the information. Now, it starts off with greetings, Paxians. As our dedicated dev team diligently works on refining and debugging the alpha build, yes, it means that now the answer to alpha when is sooner than before too long. So no real answers there, but I like it. We're excited to offer you a sneak peek at the character creation process. Keep in mind, it's still in the alpha stage and numerous additional options and sliders will gradually be introduced. So take a look and enjoy. And that's going to be some of the...
It's quite a lot of facial options here. I kind of like it.
Footage that you see here at the start of this video as well. I think this is pretty exciting to see. But the vast majority of what we've also seen updates is regarding
2 to 13 letters, no space, symbol, or number. Only the first letter can be uppercased. That kind of sucks. Like, I guess, you know, you're only supposed to do your first name or something, but it kind of sucks that you can't. 5, 9. Wait. Yeah, because my normal gamer name is 15 characters, so that isn't going to work.
The combat system, and there's a lot to unpack here. I think this is really where the meat of today's video is going to be. If you guys enjoy these, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We cover RPGs, MMORPGs, a lot of video game topics here, and we occasionally dip into the into the real world, trying to make your life better, and you know, just encouraging you to be the best version of yourself from time to time. But let's focus in on combat, because this is something that's really important to any MMO. Starts off, as many of you have noticed, we have so far intentionally steered clear of discussing the RPG systems and the combat mechanics in great detail. The primary reason for this is that our team was busy taking on other challenges, designing and scaling the world, laying the foundations of the...
Oh, and this guy is Ginger Prime. I gotta support my gingers, so give me a second and subscribe and like this. Gotta support the genders,
the economy with resources, gathering and crafting, and finding our own unique way of offering housing in an MMO context, the foundational parts of the game. And the good news here is that the combat and the RPG systems that have been getting a lot of attention over the last few months, well, it is still going to take some time before all of this makes it into the game, but we now have progressed further enough to share with you guys a clear vision of where we're headed. Even if, as they say, the Dark Lord is in the details, let's talk about how PAX Day will handle that bedrock of any MMORPG. And this is where it kicks off in real style. A classic MMO foundation. That title alone is very interesting to me. I mean, we could probably make 1,000 discussion videos on what is a classic MMO foundation and can it actually thrive in a modern gaming mentality. But we'll explore that maybe later. Let me know if you want to have that discussion in a future video. But let's begin by summarizing some of the key aspects of the PAX Day combat system that should appear very familiar. PAX Day will offer the holy trinity of tank, healer, and various forms of DPS. We also have a hate aggro system for players to manage, health points that will trigger death if that you run out, and you're going to want to avoid that, and endurance for running, climbing, swimming, chopping, and even, yes, attacking. In short, PAX Day will feature the most of the usual MMO mechanics, except for the class system. And I like when we see kind of this free-flowing freedom that separates the player from kind of a defined class. That means you can choose to build out your own. And as long as they continue to really kind of hone in on balance over the course of the game, then you can kind of see a shifting meta, because no matter what, people are going to try and run the numbers and figure out what is the best and only choice that players should make. One of the things I always found fun in a lot of that is that when you can challenge the meta and find new ways that are even better than what is the prescribed ideal that people have for it. So when it comes to a class of system, this means a lot of player exploration and design and freedom. And it also, I think, means that could also hold some people back, because if it's not a very clear path to what they are trying to do, the game could end up kind of punishing them, and it's going to be kind of their character as a player that decides whether they want to stick with that or not. But I'm all for classless systems. I'd love to know your thoughts. They continue to say, craft your own role. PAX Day is a sandbox because we believe in offering our players maximum freedom in all possible game aspects. Thanks. Yes, this is awesome. It was therefore a very conscious decision to get rid of character classes. In PAX Day, there is no class to pick. Instead, your character's role derives from the gear that you choose to wear at any given time, and with the players crafting all the items in the game, your individual character progression choices are also very much tied to the establishments of the crafting facilities you've built with your clan and the overall game economy. Now, advanced crafting options will allow you to enhance individual items with unique abilities like spells, weapon techniques, buff and debuff, passive or active.
This is the same sort of system that I was interested in putting in a game as well. Combining like spells and skills and combat abilities onto the physical items themselves.
And these will offer various combinations to test and optimize based off the taste and play style of the challenges that you aim to overcome. And this tells me this is bring kind of the build, we'll see that instead of class, instead of the player, where we see in modern MMOs, they're bring the player, not the class, or the role in this case, because they want the player to be able to get in without as much investment. This is a game that's going to be about investment, and one of the things that'll be interesting to see is that means, I think, in the short term, it's going to suffer because a lot of players are going to feel uncomfortable. Like, what do you mean I need to log in, and what do you mean I need to level up these skills? But as they achieve these milestones, you end up having a high, like what I call a higher retention rate, a higher connection rate to your game, because you've developed a deeper connection, a more rewarding experience, as opposed to something that's like purely sugar.
I don't know exactly about his hype words that he's using here. When you say deeper connection and more rewarding experience, I'm not sure about that. Maybe potentially more rewarding building your character out, but when it comes to like, if it's super tedious and grindy to get to that point, I don't think it's going to feel that way unless you're like a very dedicated player.
that keeps you hooked for a little while, and eventually you kind of just move on. And that seems to be kind of the standard model where people come and play the game every once a year or every 2 years for the big content drop, and then kind of just take long breaks. There's a strength to that model. We can see that clearly with the success of Final Fantasy XIV. We can see that with Destiny and New World. Those are the games that are seeming to adopt that. Lost Ark and Throne to Liberty on the horizon also seem to be kind of ushering in this kind of seasonal-based, midterm content with maybe like a yearly major release update. But it's going to be interesting to see how PAX Day fares, because this is something that a lot of people say that they want, but they don't actually show up for. So I'm excited to see them leaning into the sandbox. I'm really excited to see.
That's true as well. Like when people do sandbox games, it falls apart because it takes too much effort to get things built and going, and people don't really do it. Or the gameplay isn't really super involved and exciting enough to keep people around once they get things built. So Life is Feudal, I believe, had the same sort of thing where you built the world, but there wasn't really any quests or anything super interesting. It was just player activity and fighting and such. So if you're spending all your time building things like 24/7 just to get into fights with other people, it can be kind of hard to keep people around when it isn't really super fun,
Them leaning into the player-driven economy and the freedom that it gives you. I think they were saying everything here. This is really exciting to see, and I hope that we can go hands-on with it pretty soon, and that way I can actually give you some real hands-on impressions. But anyway, they go on to continue. For example, in the tank build, you could involve combining a full plate armor and including the Thunderous Vistage, able to trigger an enemy or increase its aggro, along with the Soothing Choker, a medallion that can cast a lull spell. Always useful to avoid aggroing a full room in one pull. You can also opt for more hybrid combos. The take pictured above could swap their plate legs for leather pants with a heal spell and equip the Hypnotic Band with a ring with a mesmerizing spell. Alternately, a healer could benefit from the Soothing Choker mentioned above to reduce their aggro when they are on a healing spree. The choice is yours. This immediately makes me start to feel like we're talking about a Final Fantasy IX style system. Final Fantasy IX, you got your abilities from your gear. Now, eventually you equipped them and you could learn them by grinding it out enough. It does sound like some of your skills, whether they're passive or active, are actually ingrained in what you have equipped. And I think this is really kind of interesting to see. That's going to drive your skills, that's going to drive your playstyle, and at the end of the day, I think that's going to make it a much more enjoyable experience and make interesting and really drive people into the economy. Like, are the crafters and gatherers, are they able to infuse gear with these skills? Let's find out. So let's talk about some trade-offs. So why not simply hang around with 3 full sets to be ready for any eventuality? Well, you can't. You would involve making a certain number of trade-offs, though. Firstly, advanced gear abilities will also come with skill prerequisites. Anyone can use the Sacred Sword of Phalefanos. I'm dyslexic, I'm butchering words, I apologize. But only a character with enough knowledge on the Magic of Light can benefit from its bonus against demons. Alternately,
See, this is something I'm not fully sure in here, because it says that you need to know knowledge in Magic of Light, which, probably a sorcerer or something would probably do. It makes me sound like Gandalf. But it's like if I'm a tank or something and I find this sword, how am I supposed to gain Magic of Light abilities,
Some spell effects, including in an item, may scale with the corresponding skill level of your character, making the Divine Heal spell imbued in your robes much more efficient as your Magic of Life skill progresses. Again, without restriction linked to classes, any character can theoretically learn every skill to the highest degree, but in practice, we fully expect some degree of specialization to happen. You'll want to optimize for synergies between the gear you equip and the skills you develop. Secondly, there's a very practical limitation on the space available in your inventory. Of course, since items are not bound to characters, a well-coordinated group of players sharing a pool of common equipment will find ways of balancing efficiently and versatility. However, between armor, weapons, potions, regions, and other items that you will want to gather to build in an optimized combo, being prepared for everything would imply leaving behind a lot of the precious loot that you'll find on your adventures, and you probably don't want that. Regarding the rewards, let's talk about this juicy bit, loot. Again, you can expect classic foundations of shared loot tables for similar mobs and rare items for formidable ones. Other factors, such as your skills, may also influence loot tables, but we don't divulge further specifics, leaving some mysteries for you to uncover. And this makes me think of, kind of the thief in Final Fantasy XI, which would help increase treasure drop rates and gil, so I'm wondering if we're going to see some perks like that. I think that would be really exciting to see in this game. Now, while it's possible to loot magical items from enemies in the current state of the game, Friends and Family Alpha, this is not our long-term plan. Instead, one of the main rewards for PvE will consist of rare resources that are essential to crafting high-level items that cannot be gathered elsewhere in the game. Acquiring the ultimate combat set that you're afterwards going to require the most precious materials, and those will only be found in the most dangerous of places, away from the home valleys, deep in the wilderness. The greatest risks and the rarest loot await in the dungeons. Unlike the most modern MMOs, our dungeons are fully open places where you should expect to encounter other parties, other opportunities for social interaction, up to you to cooperate or compete for rare mobs and their valuable shared loot. Oh man, dude, open world stuff. Oh, I love it. All right, so let's talk about the risks. No encounter is complete without the risk of death and accompanying penalties. When your character meets their demise, all your equipment remains on your corpse. Without resurrection, you'll need to revive or your belongings to retrieve your belongings. In PvP scenarios, though, death carries more even consequences, as enemies or allies could even loot some of your gear. Woo, baby. I think this is going to be controversial for a lot of modern MMO players. I think this is something that's important. I think PvP is important to these kind of games, but you're welcome to disagree. It's not something that necessarily I get to participate in all the time. I just think about it as a holistic view, as opposed to like a more single player type of game. But you can let me know what you think about that. Now, while we're not prepared to disclose the whole system, many items will have durability. Generally, higher quality items will possess more significant durability. However, you may come across some recipes for powerful but fragile weapons that can choose to craft or wield, knowing that they will eventually break. So stay tuned as we continue to refine and expand upon these systems in PAX Day. Talking about weapon breakage and item breakage, is that something that is repairable? Is there a maximum life for these types of gear, which would, if there is, then you see that command, that churn in the economy. Thus, essentially, you want to have that kind of preparation phase so that you have the gear necessary, that you also have backup gear in case your gear breaks, and then you don't find yourself kind of SOL in this case. Anyway, let's finish up this video with kind of the last thoughts they have about PvP. You do not talk about Fight Club. This article is not about PvP. Still, it feels like to say a word about it, the PvP in PAX Day will always be based on consent. Home valleys in particular will be sacrosanct. Your home can never be damaged by other players, and you can always roam around your village and your surroundings without fear of being ambushed. The only exception we want to implement is the possibility for duels, even in villages. Instead, we want to dedicate specific areas to PvP. We'll call them contested provinces. Contested provinces will contain unique resources that cannot be harvested elsewhere. To be clear, unique does not mean best. Other areas in the game will also feature unique resources. Anyone entering a contested province gets automatically flagged for PvP. A flag can only be removed by leaving the area, and it will be a bit more subtle and complex, but you'll have the rough idea. We have plenty more ideas for the contested provinces and for PvP in general, and we'll definitely want to come back to the whole topic of PvP with more detail. We are confident that the initial setup will provide opportunities for players to have fun encounters, and for the more aggressive members of our community, also allowing them to meaningfully contribute to the social fabric of the game. And that kind of concludes the information that I wanted to share with you guys in today's video. There's going to be so much more upcoming. Now, as they get ready to have an alpha and more, I'll be sure to let you guys know as soon as that information.
Welcome back to all 500. They talked about RPG mechanics in relation to combat itself. All of the screens like it and share this video with any of you that we have today. So it's and even a little bit of materials as well. First things first, I just wanted to point out this is definitely a cloak of some sort. I wish this was equipped. I've been wanting to see what cloaks and capes look like. But you are technically allowed to carry as much gear as you can inside of located on die to taking all stun different. Looks like that is a skill or a scene. This Zebian Acolyte right here, it is two-hand pixel that, though I don't players. And is moving on to the next.
See, this picture right here doesn't excite me that much, so I'm assuming this is some sort of dungeon. You can see this right here looks decent, but this right here does not look super great.
Next picture here, we can see a player looks to have a axe equipped. It also appears that it might be getting used two-handed, and they're just fighting this Zebian Acolyte right here. It looks to be similar to a dungeon that we've seen pictures of in the past, though we haven't seen this particular corridor. It looks like there might have been some additional work with this grating that's right here. The light to be walking around. We have a couple of interesting little tidbits. We have this Zebian.
I'm not the biggest fan of like tank healer DPS standards because it makes things like kind of blandish. Like, yeah, the tank here is gonna be fine. It's kind of like Skyrim sort of feel, but it doesn't seem like he's gonna be super impactful.
That's here holding what looks to be Pickle Rick.
Turn myself into a pickle. I'm Pickle Rick.
Or just an effigy of some sort, or maybe even a voodoo doll. And we also have the exact same hand axe that the player had equipped previously, but they also have it equipped with a shield. And then also in the inventory bar, we have this Horn of Gondor is what it looks like. It might just be something that was looted off of an enemy or something like that. But to me, it looks like the Horn of Gondor. And hopefully this player's fate is not the same as our dear beloved Boromir.
They took the little ones. Stay still.
Moving on, we have an image of what looks to be players either doing some sort of magic. It might be actually some kind of combined magic. Kind of reminds me of the good old days when you're in Dungeons and Dragons and your characters are in the middle of a very dark dungeon and you have your wizards and spellcasters trying to cast something as your barbarians and fighters are down below keeping watch and keeping them. And speaking of rituals, it looks like we have another one right here. This one looks possibly a little bit more nefarious. Everyone's circling around with their torches. It looks darker at night, and they're surrounded by these ranks. Might be a player that's either being sacrificed or is praying.
See, the graphics here look a little odd, but I'm not sure.
Well, and it's typically means at all. A player to all of the funny / bug-related screenshots from the current ongoing Friends and Family Alpha. What other way would you start off? Have what looks to be a glowing tree, can't fire actually underneath the water, but it's still functioning. So it's definitely good that players are going through and testing where things are placeable and making it so the developers know how to go and fix that so it's more realistic. When we is all of the jewelry is actually physicalized and on a character. We can see right here there's an earring as well as a bracelet and a ring. I know some games when you're necessarily here we have an image of a player with a bunny rabbit sitting on top of her head. It's definitely very funny that players are so obsessed over these bunnies. I know that there's some more terrifying bunnies than others, to which I wouldn't want to have at least in this locations. We have a Sethian brother, we have Sethian fanatics, we also have Sethian crusaders, it looks like, as well. And this just looks like a very bad mob spawner that you would want to make. Here we have the first confirmed appearance of Cerberus, a mystical beast of Herculean proportions. Or
yeah, I'm a bit iffy on this because I mean I still want to test the game and see how the game goes, but this wolf and stuff doesn't look super crisp right now. But for an alpha test, You know, surely this will get better over time.
Or at least of normal people proportions. This was actually a bug that has existed. We did another video on the bug screenshots, which is really funny. You should go and check that one out too. But floating animals was an issue, so hopefully they're able to figure out what's causing this and they can fix it. But in the meantime, I am more than okay with enjoying a couple of funny images of Cerberus walking around. Now, this image right here reminds me very much so of from Star Wars The Last Jedi, when Rey is trying to save the Resistance and she's opening up a cliff with all of the rocks floating around her. This is what this is, in my opinion. And then right here, we have what looks to be a player who is just straight up floating into a rock. They also have a couple of texture breaks on their player character as well, so they might be kind of falling apart at this point, falling through the seams. And then here we have an image of a player who is larger than life. They are as big as their home, and it looks like they're about to smash it out of existence. Then here we have the underside of the map, is what it looks like. Now, an interesting thing here is you can definitely see the different squares of the map, but you can see where the water is potentially outlined as well. And then we have this other part of the map that's over here. It makes me wonder, is this like the dungeon, or is this just a continuation of the map and this square hasn't spawned in yet or something like that? Either way, this player looks like they are having a very bad day, and it's going to be... So that is all different stuff. Definitely go and check.
It is another thing, is like if everything is on your character, if there's anything with like falling through the map and stuff that needs to be fixed, it needs to be fixed beforehand. So
food, Great Depression.
I was having some dinner tonight. I decided to get something from Culver's.
Guy looks like Smeagol.
Culver's is one of those establishments, I should add, at least prefacing this, because this is what started it all. Culver's is one of those establishments that has always been regarded as being, yeah, it's fast food, but it's generally a little higher quality. It's supposed to be.
Yeah, it's like Steak and Shake, Culver's, Five Guys. These are all like fast food plus. It's not fast food, but it's fast food plus.
At least a little bit better as far as the quality of everything, the consistency, the service, all of the above. It's just supposed to be a little better. I got a burger with bacon. Pretty standard, right?
Yeah.
I got it, and it was disgusting. And obviously this wasn't for a review, this is just for me to eat, and it was awful.
That's horrible. Like, we have a Culver's here, and like I've been there multiple times, and I've never had a bad burger from there. What the fuck?
It was really bad.
Wow.
There were multiple problems with it. It was overly salty. It tasted just off. You know, it was one of those times where the item just... There's something wrong about it. It just doesn't taste right. It's like one of those things where it's like you're taking a bite and you're even wondering,
don't know what it is, but
am I going to get sick from this?
Yeah.
I ordered it with no cheese, but the thing had like 6 slices of cheese melted on it.
I really don't like it whenever people put extra cheese on things. Like, I usually get 1 slice of cheese. 2 slices is too many cheeses. That's too much, bro. Like, I'm eating a hamburger, not a cheeseburger. Well, I guess sometimes I do order a cheeseburger, but I mean, you know what I mean? It's too much fucking cheese.
And with all of that, it just made me wonder, number one, how did it get messed up that bad?
Yeah.
Number two, there seemed to be something more to it than just, oh, they just messed the order up, you know? It just tasted off. There were so many things weird about it.
Something weird about this dude in here.
And this is from Culver's. This is, again, supposed to be an establishment that's supposed to be a higher tier fast food chain. And
You know who's really been doing a good job recently is KFC. KFC has really turned a lot of shit around. Because, like, 10 years ago, like, you go to KFC, and you like, I mean, there's this KFC. It's in like the fucking, it's in Austin. If you're in Austin, you know the KFC I'm talking about. And you open the fucking door, and there could be a dead homeless person in the lobby at that exact moment, right? Like, they are dead right now. KFC, and there's like dirt on the floor. There's dirt everywhere. There's like people living in the KFC. It is what it is, right? But like, I go there every once in a while, right? And recently I've gone to KFC, and man, they've really turned shit around. Things have really improved at KFC. The quality is better. The delivery of the food is better. Like Culver's, I went to Culver's.
See, KFC's around here, they used to have buffets and stuff, and it was like KFC and Taco Bell together or something. And those places actually were pretty good for a while. Like, they clean and people go in there, get buffets and stuff. Everything's super nice. And then they fell apart. Like when Taco Bell and KFC separated, some things went bad. And then eventually some new people took over, and now people are saying it's terrible over here.
Culver's maybe like a week ago with my dad, and it was fine. But I didn't get a burger, though, to be fair. Yeah, no more dead homeless people? Yeah, they got rid of them. Bro, they patched them out.
I hate to say it, this isn't the first time I've noticed this either.
Yeah.
Culver's, granted, has still been a little bit better. But this has been happening more and more, even with them.
Yeah.
Instances not as bad as this, but where there have been problems with my order, where the quality is just elapsing more and more.
Yeah.
And it's not just Culver's. It's every place. McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, Taco Bell, you name it. There have been so many places, and I'm sure you've noticed this, that I've reviewed in the last couple years, where the food has just been awful.
Yeah.
It's quite frankly disgusting.
I think also the problem is that, like, I mean, Taco Bell is getting sued for this. Is like the way that the food looks in the commercials, that's not the way it looks in the bag. Like, bro, that's like Tinder versus real life, you know?
Time and again, it's some burnt piece of garbage. It's some just vile slop, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
Vile slop. This dude's from like 1820.
And it's getting to the point.
And this is, I want to say this right now before somebody comes in with their hot take because they're like a European or something. Is like, they say, oh, well, it's fast food. That's what you get, right? Nah, bro, that's not what it used to be like. You would go to McDonald's to, like, celebrate back in the day. Now you go to McDonald's because you can't celebrate. Now you go to McDonald's to, like, punish yourself. It's like, I'm such a fat piece of shit. I'm going to go to McDonald's so I can die faster. You know? And that's just not the way it used to be, guys. Like, I'm telling you, back in the day, I remember this shit back in 1998, 1999. I was there whenever they would have a news special that said that McDonald's had the new Happy Meal Beanie Babies toys. And my mom and I drove up to McDonald's and we waited in line for, I'm not even kidding you, 45 fucking minutes. Because we were trying to get all the Beanie Babies from the Happy Meals because they were investments, right? And everybody was doing this shit. It was the 90s. And so you would get your food there, and like those nuggets would be hot. You wouldn't have that soggy, limp dick shit that they have now. Like, I don't know what the hell happened. Now, you don't want to know one big factor for this is a lot of people nowadays are getting their food delivered. And you cannot expect to get your food delivered and for it to have the same freshness as it would have if you ordered it at the store yourself. So that's a very important factor. There's a lot of little things about this that have changed.
Now, where pretty much every other item that I review is just, it's disgusting in some way or another. Or it's just so overpriced that it might be alright, but it's like you're burning your money.
Yeah.
What's even the point? And then, you know, the best part is that you're burning your money for absolute garbage when it's bad, too. Right. That's another thing. Like the last video that I did. For those Arby's mac and cheese bites. They were horrible. I mean, there have been times when Burger King has done their mac and Cheetos. And those were better than that.
That's pathetic. And like, Arby's is one of those places where, like, if you drive a pickup truck and you don't wear a shirt, you go to Arby's. and like you try to pay them with cash, and they have to call in the manager because they don't know how to make change. Like, I've never met a person that works at Arby's that isn't a fucking moron. Every time there's something wrong. Because, like, my dad and I, we used to, like, back in the day, we used to get Jamocha shakes at Arby's. Like, this is, like, a thing that we would do. It's because we would volunteer to fix up, you know, some, like, different, like, national, like, park areas. And, you know, we did it for exercise, etc. And then afterwards, we would go and get Arby's, get, like, a drink there, something like that, right? And so this is how it was for a long time. I went there all the time, and every time there'd be some moron there. The thing is, though, it really depends on the place, because, like, if you go, and I'm gonna just keep it real here, is like if you go to the Taco Bell in the hood, you're gonna get a shitty fucking food. You're gonna get some garbage. You're gonna get some slop. But if you go up to, like, you know, here in Austin, you go to Lakeway, you go to Westlake, and you get your food at Taco Bell, bro, that guy, actually, let me show y'all, like, real quick. I even have a video of this shit to show you what the difference is. Asmongold, pink sparkles, fucking, what was that? Was it Taco Bell? And so this is my girlfriend at the time, not anymore, because it's me, right? And so, like, this dude, like, we go to Taco Bell, everything is totally fucking normal. Like, look at that. He's so nice.
I wasn't really in the wrong, but it's like...
I wasn't in the right either, probably, yeah.
We used to do that all the time.
And so, anyway... Oh, fuck. Does it not show it?
Can I get a chicken quesadilla? No. Okay, you say yes. I was about to say, man. Okay.
So it's like they're already having fun playing games, and this is, by the way, like she lived in a nice area, right? He says no.
I don't have anything to say other than we really enjoy you two together. Hearts and chat, everyone.
Jesus, I hate TTS.
Large Pepsi with light ice. Nope. You got it. Okay, I see where this is going. All right, do you want anything?
So.
Yeah.
You say hi.
All right.
So anyway, like, this happens. So everybody, like, this dude is totally chill. He's all about his job. He's happy. He's doing his work. We got everything that we needed to get. But if you go to the taco, like, anywhere, any fast food restaurant that is within a 1 mile radius of the highway, is not going to be what you want it to be. Let me just tell you that. It's not going to be what you want it to be. So this is the point I'm trying to make, right? I'm trying to show this because, like, there's a massive difference. Like, this guy was like the manager. We went to this Taco Bell like 20 times. It's about the location that the store is at more even than what the store is. That's my point.
I mean, it's not the most difficult thing in the world, but there was that issue. You know, then I go back a few videos. There's this chicken sandwich, I think, from Burger King, and it was like a piece of rubber. That was horrible too.
Well, of course it's a piece of rubber. How do you think they afford to sell it for $1? Never eat chicken from Burger King.
Chicken sandwich.
My dad one time said, he said if he gets another burger from Burger King and that shit is cold, he's going to wait for them to open the window again. He's going to throw the burger back in the fucking kitchen. Like a grenade. He was so mad last time. That shit was fucking funny. I don't know what happened. Frag out, yeah. Fire in the hole. Go, drive, get out of here.
There was something really wrong with that as well. And these aren't, you know, little criticisms. It's one thing if, oh, they've, you know, there's some barbecue sauce on this sandwich, and it tastes all right, but I'm not a fan of it. That's not what I'm talking about here. These are things where there are fundamental errors,
barbecue sauce,
where it is genuinely gross and vile, to the point where it's not just, oh, I don't like the way the sauce tastes. It's, this is disgusting. This is burnt. This is inedible. There's something that tastes so off about this that now I'm worried, am I going to get sick from this? This is what I'm...
Let me tell you something. If you ever go to a fast food restaurant and it's not in a rich area and the people behind the counter are having fun, you need to go somewhere else before you get sick. You need to get the fuck out of there right away. I'm talking about right away. Like, there was one time I went to a Whataburger, and this was like, oh, I don't even fucking know. Like 10 years ago. This is when Diablo 3 came out. And I remember I went there at 2 a.m. There was 12 people behind the counter in the kitchen. They were laughing, having fun. Bro, I puked my fucking brains out. Like, Jeff almost went to the hospital over that shit. It was bad.
I'm talking about, not just, oh, it was the sauce, it didn't have enough sauce, or oh, there was wasn't enough bacon on it, or this, that, or the other thing. These are much more serious errors, and they're happening more and more and more, and it's not just with one chain.
And y'all ever gone to Wendy's and you get a bacon, like bacon on your burger, and you open and you look at the slice of bacon and there's no bacon on it, it's just fat? You just got a strip of fat? Y'all ever had that happen?
Talking about the entire fast food industry, from the bottom even to the top. Like I'm saying, Culver's, people generally regard Culver's
as fast food
as
plus.
being one of the better fast food establishments.
Fast food plus.
It's happening there too now. It's happening at pretty much every fast food place, at least that I've been to.
Yeah.
And it's happening more and more frequently. Any consistency, it's just pretty much consistently bad at this point. And the prices, that's another thing. That's for another day too. I could make a whole separate video about that.
They're expensive.
I was thinking though, you know those experiences that you'll get. You notice something. And you're thinking to yourself though, is it just me? Right?
And then you
is
go to
it
YouTube,
just me, or is, and then,
This is the way I felt about KFC.
Your observation.
Yeah.
I have my suspicions. I'll be straightforward with that. But I'm still thinking that. Is it just me? Is it just me? Or has fast food gotten even worse? Is it? Am I trapped?
I don't know. I mean, has fast food really gotten worse? I feel like, yeah. But it depends on the location. Like, if you go to a fast food restaurant in a nice area, it's probably better than it was. But if you go to a fast food restaurant in a poor area, you might die.
In some sort of bubble where it's just getting worse and worse and worse. And everyone else, fast food is just great as ever. And here I am where it's just at the absolute bottom of the barrel.
Yeah.
Or is there something more to it?
I think the big reason why, too, is because a lot of people don't want to work there. And working in a fast food restaurant sucks. And the wages have been stagnant for 10 years. People aren't getting paid enough money. Nobody gives a shit about doing their job. And, I mean, I'm going to be honest, guys, Flippy can't come soon enough. They've got to sort this shit out as soon as they possibly fucking can, man. Like, they have to, because it's nuts how, just like, and like, I know, like, I don't want to make sure this is like, oh, the fast food workers are stupid. Like, no, I don't care if they're stupid or not. That's a hard fucking job, man. Like, that's the last place I would want to work is in a restaurant. That's awful, bro. That shit's stressful. Look at Gordon Ramsay. Look at how many wrinkles are on his fucking forehead. That's because he's been in the kitchen his whole life. So, yeah, I mean, it's stressful as hell. So I totally understand it. But at the same time, you know, the quality of the food is going to go down because people aren't getting any fucking money. You gotta be on food stamps in order to work at one of these places. It's bad.
I have my suspicions, like I said. I could take a guess. But what I want is perspective. Right? I could have my guesses.
Yeah.
I could have my suspicions. But I was thinking about this as I was looking earlier at that absolutely vile burger that I got.
I'm gonna tell y'all what the solution for this is because some people are asking what it is. So this is what it is. Just so y'all can get and figure out what this is real quick. So you got it right here. So let's talk a little bit about this situation. Guess what word is not programmed into Flippy's language dictionary? Unions. Guess which word is not programmed into Flippy's language? Lunch break. You think he cares about if it's Christmas or not? Absolutely fucking not. You think he cares if he's not getting... Oh, it's not... Shut the fuck up. But there it is. And so this is the future right here, guys. This is the new fast food worker, and this is our salvation. This right here, because, like, let's be honest.
Yeah, so they normally cook for 4.5...
Like, if I had to bet, I would bet...
Guys, do your daughter a favor this year by getting her a unique gift that she'll treasure forever. It says, to my daughter, never forget that I love you forever. I hope that you believe in yourself as much as I believe in you. Whenever you feel overwhelmed, remember whose daughter you are and straighten your crown. You are braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, smarter than you think, and loved more than you know. I can't promise to be here for the rest of your life, but I can promise to love you for the rest of mine. Love, Dad. This necklace is absolutely stunning. It's a really beautiful piece. The necklace is available in a luxury wooden mahogany style box that has an LED light at the top that shines down on the necklace and makes it sparkle. This beautiful message says it all. Supplies are very limited this year, so be sure to get one for your daughter today. Click shop now below.
This is a camera lucida. For the whole of the 19th century, it was the indispensable drawing aid for great masters and technical illustrators alike. Drawing accurately from life is hard. It's a real challenge to visualize the three-dimensional real world flattened onto your paper. The Neo Lucida places a real-world image onto your page for tracing. I can't promise that it'll be a shortcut to your next masterpiece, but it just may make drawing a little less frustrating, and sometimes that's all it takes to motivate you. So try a Neo Lucida, and let's get drawing.
%80 of people that work at the restaurant like this, fast food restaurant, none of them want to fucking be there. They would rather work somewhere that's different. Now, there are people that like working there, but it's a shit fucking job, man. It pays for shit, it's got low social status, and it's hard. Who likes that? Yeah, then quit. Well, they are. That's the problem, is they are quitting. And so Flippy is the salvation. Flippy is what's going to solve this problem. And it's going to be like, we're not going to need videos like this anymore, bro. Like, you get a video like this, all they need to do, bro, like, they don't need to raise the minimum wage. Like, what the fuck? Like, no, just install the new update. Just update the software. Get the new spatula arm that flips it over better. And then that's it. Flippy's going to solve this problem. It's going to be no big deal.
I was thinking, you know, I'm just gonna go ahead with it, and I'm gonna shoot the question.
Yeah.
You as a viewer, yes you, right now, right here, what do you notice? I mean, what do you notice? How is fast food in your neck of the woods? Are you noticing the same thing? Are you noticing...
At Chipotle, I would order steak. About 30% of the time, they would have steak. It was so bad that I now order Chipotle to my house through DoorDash because of how bad this is. And like, I'm like, how does this happen? It's super random. Yeah, they're not even trying. They gotcha with food. Yeah, except you always lose. Damn, man, it's expensive and hit and miss. Yeah, it's never happened to me. And then, like, they don't have any employee training. Y'all ever get steak at Chipotle and then you don't get steak? You're eating fat? Who the fuck has had that happen besides me? Like, it's gotta be a lot of people, right? Yeah, it's like you're chewing up a fucking a lump of... What the fuck? This is some gristle. Get this the fuck out of my mouth. It's disgusting. It's chewy, bro. It's not chewy. That's not steak, bro. That's like a piece of rubber. That's like a tire. It's nasty. And so, yeah, I mean, it's unique. And the problem, whose fault is that? That's the training. It's the training. I guarantee you it's the training's fault, because they don't train the people that cut up the food to cut the fat out of the food. They don't train them to look at the cuts of meat, and that's it. It's the owners. Yeah, that's what happened.
This precipitous decline in the quality of it within the last few years, mind you. So we're not even making comparisons here. I should stress this also. So let's say the 1980s or the 90s or even the early 2000s, when I think in many cases fast food generally was indisputably better in many instances. I'm talking the last few years. I'll even narrow it down the last, let's say, 2 or 3 years or so.
I do think COVID, COVID was pretty damaging. It was.
Have you noticed what I'm noticing? Have you? I'm curious. If you have, you could state your observations in the comments.
Yeah.
You could say whatever sorts of experiences you've noticed on your end as far as the fast food quality is concerned. My second question, though, why do you think this is happening? Why do you think? Like I said, I have my suspicions, but why do you think it's getting so worse so quickly at that?
It's because people keep buying it, number one. That's the reason, because like KFC was losing market share to Chick-fil-A, and then KFC improved the product, right? So like that's number one, people keep buying it. Number two is because the employees it's harder to retain an employee nowadays, I feel. This is what the fuck do I know about, I've never run a fast food restaurant, but this is what I know, this is what I hear, etc. People are lazy. It's probably very hard to retain an employee because nobody wants to work at these restaurants, because the quality of the quality of life working there is just awful. Like at Sam's Club, I don't know if it's still like this at like a fucking Chipotle or a Chick-fil-A well, Chick-fil-A, you probably do whatever you want, but at Wendy's, but like they used to make it to where you couldn't even have your phone in your pocket. So like whenever you treat people like stupid little 6th graders, well, you're going to get people that act like stupid little 6th graders. And I think also COVID made everything a lot worse. Like Wendy's used to close late, now they close early. It's the same thing with a lot of stuff. Hey, that's for a real job from Zach's not the smartest, bro. Like, I mean, I'm talking about a real job. I mean, this is how it is. How many of you guys have worked at a fast food restaurant and you weren't able to have your phone with you? Is that the case? Me. There's a lot, right? There's a lot. So I'm not full of shit with this. It's a thing. So yeah.
You think it is? Now you don't have to answer all these questions, whichever one of these, appeals to you. But I'm just looking for feedback. I'm looking for responses or perspective. I'm thinking, is it just me?
Yeah.
Or are other folks being impacted by this too? And are other folks noticing the same thing?
Someone says you should be working on your phone. There are people, whenever you're working, you are not disconnected. You don't go into like a hyperbolic time chamber where time doesn't pass in the outside world and you don't have other things going on in your life, right? So there are people like, for me, like what if my mom needs something? What if my dad needs something at the time, right? And so it's like, if I needed to help her, I needed to have my phone with me. If she needed to call me, that was it. So like, you take a person's, like, you take a person's life away whenever you do that to them, right? And people have kids. Yeah, you've got kids. What if they've got their kids got to call them from school or something like that? Of course you shouldn't be on your phone at work. But if you can't trust your employee enough to make the decision, am I being a good employee or not? You have to micromanage them down to that level. Don't expect them to go the extra mile for you because you're not making them do it. Bad argument, you could call the restaurant. You could call the restaurant. Oh yeah, well, who the fuck does that? Why would somebody need to call the restaurant whenever they could just call your phone? What is this? Like, also, if the, like, by the way, like, it's also another bad argument because if, like, anything serious happens, like let's say it's a what do you call it? Like it's a, you know, your kid needs something from school, or your parent, you know, there's like the emergency services are there. They're gonna look up like what the first contact is, and that contact is gonna have your cell phone. It's not gonna have your work phone. And now, can they get your work phone? Yeah, they'll figure it out, but it's gonna take a lot more time. And that's it. Yeah, kids text. Yeah, the kid can just text you. Exactly. What if your wife's pregnant? Yeah, it's just like, it's something that removes somebody's, in a way, it removes their humanity. Like, in a way. Like, that's probably a bit melodramatic for saying you can't use your phone, but it's under that same mindset that, like, you, whenever you're working, nothing else in your life matters. And that's not really true. Like, the life goes on, things happen. Now, should you be texting while you're on your phone and working? No, of course not. You need to be working. Do your fucking job. That's what you're paid to do. But to say you can't have your phone with you at all, that's over the line, man. That's what I'm saying. Treating people like machines, yeah. And so you treat people like machines. Don't be surprised whenever they treat you like an ATM. You know, they get their money, then they leave.
A third question, if you want to go here, and this is purely optional, but if you want to hypothesize, where do you think this is going to be headed?
Yeah.
I mean, do you think it's just going to keep getting worse and worse and worse?
Flippy never be on
and
his
they're
phone,
going to hit a new
Yeah,
low,
true.
and then somehow they're actually going to get below that, and it's just going to keep getting worse, or do you think it's going to improve?
Yeah.
Do you think that people are going to start maybe protesting with their pocketbooks, and these companies are finally going to notice? Do they just not care, and it's just going to keep getting worse? Do you think fast food is just going to die one day? So what do you...
I think that we've already seen what's going to happen with KFC, is because I think KFC is a great example. Like, KFC for a long time had a diminishing and declining reputation, right? So, like, this is the 90s, the 2000s, the late 2000s, the 2010, and then it's like all the way down here. And like now we're at 2019, 2020, 2021. You know, things are starting to look up. Things are starting to get better. Why is that? Because of competition in the space. Like, Chick-fil-A ain't no joke. People going to Chick-fil-A, Cane's. Yeah, look at this, right? So you're seeing the improvement in quality because these companies are experiencing a loss in consumers. And that's what happens.
What do you think this is even going to result in? Because to me, I notice it getting worse. And it's not stopping. This isn't some temporary little trend. It is just plummeting. It's like, there had been, I think, a decline in the quality of fast food gradually, and then a few years ago, fell off a cliff. And it has just been going down and down. And
I feel like COVID lowered people's expectations, and the companies haven't really tried to go back to the previous expectations.
I've been noticing some very serious problems more and more frequently, to the point where it's like, I'll even think to myself, as a consumer, what motivation, if it weren't for these reviews, what motivation do I even have to go to these places?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you what, there's none. There's no motivation. Why waste my money for some slop that might even make me sick, or that I'm probably just going to be disgusted with?
Whenever you have places that are like, you know, here we've got like Bill Miller's. You know, Bill Miller's is like kind of the closest thing you can get to like barbecue that's fast food. And it's pretty fucking good. And there's like a lot of these other restaurants that have like a drive-through, or they have, you know, takeout that you can get, and it's $15 instead of $11, right? Or it's $19 instead of $15. So it's pretty close to the price. And at a certain point, whenever fast food's prices get so high, they become, they are now competing in another price range with those better restaurants. Bill Miller's is still family owned. Yeah, I know that. I'm just saying, like, in general.
It's going to look like nothing like the ad. Why even waste the money? What's even the point?
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, there is none. And surely I can't be the only person that feels that way. So, what do you notice? Do you notice the same thing? If so, how bad has it been? How drastic has the decline been? Have fun with this. Take these sorts of questions any way you want, but I am looking for perspective desperately. I'm just curious how
You want to know another place that's really improved their quality is McDonald's. Like, in terms of service, how many of you guys have the McDonald's now where, like, there's 2 drive-through lanes? Do y'all have that? So, like, this is what... Nah. Take a look real quick. So, like, I go to McDonald's about 5 times a week. And so you've got the McDonald's right here. And then you've got, this is the window 1 and window 2. And then this is where they take your money, and this is where they give you your food. And so, like, McDonald's is actually process engineered. Like, the way that they deal with consumer traffic is actually fucking insane. Like, the people that are running and making decisions with McDonald's are fucking geniuses. And I'm not even kidding you. And this is like, so you go through here, and you either order your food... And you can order your food here, right? Or you can order your food here. And based off of which one is available, you can go there. And I have had like 7 cars in front of me at McDonald's, and I've gotten my food within 10 minutes. Like, McDonald's has like their process engineering for like getting their food out. It is so fucking good. It is insanely good. It puts everybody else in the fucking dirt. Chick-fil-A's faster? Not ours. But I know that some of them have it like that too. Chick-fil-A's, yeah, I know Chick-fil-A does that too. Right? Like, the efficiency with McDonald's is next fucking level, right? And like, that's all I'm saying. Chick-fil-A's been doing this for years. Yeah, it's smart.
How expansive this is, how widespread this is, if it's as bad as I think it is. If you dissent, though, because, granted, hey, maybe it's just me. I am willing to accept that.
Uh-huh.
If you think that, no, there really isn't any sort of change, or if you think, no, I'm just not really noticing anything, or if you actually want to take a contrarian point of view, and you want to say, actually, I think fast food has been improving in the last few years.
Nah, bro, because I tell you, like, back in the day, my mom and I used to get Cokes at McDonald's every fucking night, basically, right? Because the drinks were $1. And so we would be there sometimes, I'm not even kidding you, like, my car, this is how often we would go there. My first car died in a McDonald's drive-thru. That's right. At 2 in the morning. It died. I've spent so much time in McDonald's drive-thrus back in the day, and now, like, you ever go drive by a fast food restaurant and you look at the line and you decide if you're going to pull in and go? Y'all ever do that? I never make that decision with McDonald's anymore because I know that I'll get my food quickly.
View, bro, I don't really know what you're smoking, but I think it's actually getting better and better. I welcome any dissenting opinions as well. Like I said, I'm looking for perspective. Not just some sort of one-sided viewpoint. I really just want to hear it all. So if you see things differently, you are more than welcome to share your thoughts, and that would be much appreciated. Now, here's where I'm getting with all of this.
Right.
I mentioned that this is going to be the start of a video series. At the very least, it's going to be 2 videos, but again, I could easily... I'm going to make this however long it is. If it winds up being 3 videos, or 5, or 10... If I decide to make 20 videos about this where I cover a different point in each video, I'm going to do it at this point. I really don't care. I'm just going to go for it. But at the very least, it's going to be 2 videos. And in an upcoming video, and there's going to be some time here, so don't feel like you have to rush typing anything out. If you want to take even a couple days to just collect your thoughts or whatever, I mean, you could do that. In an upcoming video, though, I'm going to outline some of the feedback that comes in for this video in the comments section, and I'm going to share as much of it as I can and try to discuss some interesting points and observations that, again, were left in the comments section of this video. It's going to be like an open forum. Again, all viewpoints, both in agreement and disagreement, are welcome, and I will focus, again, on all sides, all viewpoints. And this is a platform for discussion, and that's exactly what it's going to be. So, you are welcome again to leave any feedback, any observations you have. Where do you think the state of fast food lays at this point, right? What do you think's going on with it? Is it getting worse? If so, what are you noticing? How bad do you think it's going to get? What's the future going to be? Or do you think it's not getting bad at all? And I don't know, am I just being too harsh? What do you think? Please leave a comment. Take it any way you want. Any observations you have, any chain, any location, just go for it. Again, the more thoughts and the more perspective,
I'm about to say
the
what
better.
I think.
And I'm going to be making another video in the near future. Again, you got some time, but in the near future, I'll be making one where I will focus on some of the feedback that comes in the comments section. I'll put them up on the screen here so we could all see it. And we're going to go over some of the responses that come in and try to establish a consensus, if there is one, that is. And if there isn't, then we're going to figure that out too.
Yeah.
So, that's all that I have for you today. Hope you could leave a comment with whatever observations you notice. And I think this is going to be interesting. I'm curious if it's just me or if there's something else going on here. Thank you for watching, and until next time, I'm your host, The Report of the Week.
So, let me link y'all the video. That was a great video. That was a tremendous video. This is something that's needed to be said for a while. So, why fast food has gone to shit? Okay, it hasn't. It depends on the region, and realistically, the socio... How do you spell that? Yeah, there we go. Socioeconomic status of the residents that are in that area. So I think this is a very big factor to bring up. And here's the reason why. There are plenty of rich places full of rich people, and they get you your food, and it's no problem. I'll link y'all the video again. This is a great video. Make sure to give it a like, give him a sub. He does a lot of fast food reviews. I've watched these videos for like 10 fucking years. Probably not that long, about 5, I'd say. Maybe longer, maybe less, somewhere around there. So that's number 1. Number 2, COVID lowered expectations after following COVID. Expectations remained low. So that's another reason right there. No one wants to work there. Stagnant wages. Bad employees. Flippy will be our salvation. So this is another big factor here, is that nobody wants to work at Burger King. And whenever I say nobody, there are people that want to work at Burger King. They love working at Burger King, and it makes them happy and it's fulfilling. And those people are called angels. But the majority of people don't want to work at Burger King. And the truth is that whenever that happens, well, you have people that don't do a good job. And also, there's another factor, employee satisfaction and treatment is bad. A lot of people don't want to work there. They don't give a shit about it.